There is a moment in every night when the world seems to close its doors, and yet another door, one far more secret, begins to open. It is not heard by the ear, it is not seen by the eye, it does not announce itself with sound, nor does it require effort from you. It comes quietly, when the day has spent its force, when the body begins to loosen its hold upon the outer world, when the mind, still carrying its little burdens, stands at the edge of something deeper than thought. I want you to notice this hour differently, tonight. Do not think of it as merely the end of the day. Do not think of it as the place where you fall away from life for a few hours and return again to the same conditions in the morning. The night is not an empty darkness. The night is a chamber. It is a sealed room in consciousness. And every evening, whether knowingly or unknowingly, man stands before that sealed room and brings to it a key. That key is not made of metal. It is not found in the hand. It is not bought with money, and it is not given by another. The key is the state you carry as you enter sleep. The night has a lock, and your state is the key. If you bring the state of fear, the night receives fear. If you bring the state of lack, the night receives lack. If you bring the state of struggle, the night receives struggle. But if you bring the state of being supplied, if you bring the feeling of wealth as natural, if you bring the quiet assumption that life has already provided, then the night receives that also, and it carries it into the deep. This is why I say to you now, softly, without excitement and without pressure, you must learn to enter the night as one who knows what is taking place. Sleep is not only rest, sleep is the passage through which your accepted state descends into the subconscious. Men think they are only closing their eyes, but inwardly they are opening the door of creation. They think they are escaping the world, but inwardly they are selecting the world they will meet again. They imagine that the outer day creates the inner night. But I tell you, the inner night determines the outer day. And before you move deeper into this night, make one small outward act that agrees with the inward decision you are making now. Subscribe to this channel, not as a common habit, not as a careless motion of the hand, but as a quiet declaration that you are willing to return to the law until it becomes natural in you. Let it be your first simple yes to the state you are now assuming. Yes, I will no longer sleep as the one who is ruled by lack. Yes, I will return to the teachings that remind me who I am. Yes, I will let these words meet me again and again until wealth no longer feels distant, strange, or forbidden. Do it softly, without breaking the peace of this hour. Let that small outward action become a symbol of a greater inward movement. You are not subscribing as one who begs for money. You are subscribing as one who chooses to remember the law. Every time you return, these teachings will water the seed that is planted tonight. Every time you hear again that consciousness is cause, the old belief in lack will lose some of its authority. Every time you are reminded to fall asleep in the state fulfilled, the inner chamber of wealth becomes more familiar. So let this act be simple, quiet, and final. Subscribe now and let it stand as your first outward sign that you are no longer willing to make poverty, fear, or waiting your nightly companion. Now perhaps you have come to this hour carrying thoughts of money, not greed, not vanity, but that quiet weight which money seems to place upon the heart of man. Perhaps there are obligations, numbers, accounts, promises, needs, duties, things that must be met, things that must be paid, things that the outer world says are urgent. Perhaps you have been strong through the day, you have spoken calmly, you have attended to what was required of you. But now in the silence, when no one sees you, the old feeling tries to return. It whispers, what shall I do? Where shall it come from? When will it change? How long must I wait? And if you have not yet made that small outward agreement, make it now, gently. Subscribe to this channel as a quiet seal upon the state you are choosing tonight. Do not do it from fear. Do not do it as though one outer action could replace the inner work. Do it as a sign that you will return to this truth until it possesses you. Do it as one who says, I am willing to hear the law again. I am willing to sleep differently. I am willing to let wealth become normal in my own consciousness. I am willing to stop wandering through the night as the one who waits and begin entering sleep as the one who receives. Then release the act completely. Do not think of it again. Let it be finished. The true commitment is not to a sound outside you, nor to a man, nor to a form, but to the state within you. The outer act is done. The inner movement continues. You have said yes to returning. You have said yes to remembering. You have said yes to no longer making lack the final impression of the night. Now let the body soften again. Let the mind grow quiet again. Let the deeper door open again. Do not be ashamed of that whisper. I am not here to condemn you for having heard it. Man has been trained to believe that money is his master, and so when money seems absent, he feels himself powerless. He has been trained to believe that the world gives first, and he feels afterward. He has been taught that he must see evidence before he can rest, that he must possess the outer sign before he may feel secure. But I tell you, this is the reversal that keeps him bound. The outer world is not the first cause, it is the result. The feeling accepted within is the beginning of the arrangement. Money does not answer noise, it answers identity. Money does not answer trembling, nor pleading, nor desperate mental argument. It answers the state one occupies. The world does not ask, "What do you want with your lips?" It asks, "Who are you in consciousness?" And then it faithfully mirrors that answer. This is the hidden law. This is the secret order beneath all appearances. And because men do not see it with the eye, they call it mystery. But it is not mysterious to the one who applies it. It is exact. It is silent. It is faithful. Tonight, I want to speak to you of the subconscious money code, but I must be very clear from the beginning. I do not mean by this some strange arrangement of figures. I do not mean a charm, or a lucky number, or a secret known only to a few. I do not mean gambling with life, nor trying to trick the universe, nor forcing conditions by nervous effort. The true code is not outside you. It is not hidden in books, nor in the hands of another man, nor in the changing markets of the world. The true code is written in your own being. It is the living order by which consciousness becomes experience. And that order is simple, so simple that the anxious mind overlooks it. I am, feeling, assumption, naturalness, sleep, the subconscious receiving the final state. This is the code. It is not complicated, it is not mechanical, it is not a superstition, it is the arrangement of creation within you. Your I am names the state. Your feeling gives life to that state. Your assumption accepts it as true. Naturalness removes the resistance. Sleep carries it into the subconscious, and the subconscious, receiving it as fact, begins to express it in the only language the outer world can understand. Events, movements, opportunities, ideas, meetings, openings, and forms. But men do not trust simplicity. They want struggle because struggle makes them feel they are doing something. They want noise because silence frightens them. They want to chase because stillness feels like surrender. Yet the deepest acts of creation are not noisy. A seed does not shout in the earth. The tide does not plead with the moon. The dawn does not argue with the darkness. There is a silent order in all life, and that same silent order lives in you. The subconscious does not open to force. It opens to what you accept as true. You cannot frighten it into wealth. You cannot command it with a tense heart and expect it to produce peace. You cannot repeat words of abundance while secretly living in the feeling of poverty and wonder why the old world remains. The subconscious is not deceived by words. It receives the state wearing the words. If the words say wealth, but the state says fear, fear is what is planted. If the words say supply, but the state says lack, lack is what is impressed. But if the words are few and the state is true, if the feeling is quiet and accepted, if the body softens into the assumption, then the seed enters. This is why tonight you are not here to get money. Hear that carefully. You are not here to get money. You are here to become the one to whom wealth belongs. That is a very different thing. The man who is trying to get money may remain poor in consciousness while speaking of riches. The man who becomes the one to whom wealth belongs is no longer begging the outer world to change. He has changed the cause. He has entered a state, and the world, being effect, must follow the state. So let the outer world wait for a while. Let the visible world stand where it is. You do not need to repair it tonight with the tired tools of the conscious mind. You do not need to solve every question before sleep. You do not need to know the way. In fact, your insistence upon knowing the way often keeps you from entering the end. The conscious mind sees only the familiar roads. It looks at what has been and tries to predict what must be. But the subconscious, once impressed, is not limited to the roads you know. It is the deeper ranger. It moves beneath the surface. It calls, guides, shifts, attracts, dissolves, and gathers according to the state accepted within. Tonight, there are two worlds before you. One is the visible world. It has names and numbers. It has duties and appearances. It has the face of yesterday still upon it. This world speaks loudly because the senses report it. It says, look at me, believe me, react to me, fear me. But there is another world, an invisible world, not imaginary in the false sense, but causal. It is the world of states. It is the world where assumptions are accepted before facts appear. It is the world in which the end is chosen before the bridge is seen. And this invisible world is not weaker than the visible one. It is the mother of the visible one. The mistake of man is that he bows before the child and forgets the mother. He bows before money, before accounts, before circumstances, before what others say, before what the past has shown him, and then he wonders why he feels enslaved. But I tell you, money is not cause, circumstance is not cause. The visible world is the child, the state is the mother. Change the state, and the child must bear a new likeness. So tonight, you need not wrestle with money. You need not pursue it in imagination as though it were running from you. You need not strain to pull it through some invisible distance. Wealth is not far from the state that accepts it. It is far only from the state that denies it. Money does not move toward the one who worships it as absent. It moves naturally in the world of the one who has accepted supply as normal. This is why the code must be allowed, not forced. You do not break open the lock. You bring the right key. Now let the idea come to you gently. There is within you an order that already knows how to receive. There is within you a deeper self that does not need your fear to help it. There is within you a subconscious power that has been forming your world according to what you have accepted, and if it has formed one world, it can form another. Do not condemn it for having produced what you feared. It was only faithful. It has been listening to your states. It has been obeying your hidden assumptions. And now, with understanding, you may give it something new to receive. This is the mercy of the law. You are not required to repair years in one anxious hour. You are not required to fight the past. You are not required to persuade the outer world. You are only asked to enter a new state and remain loyal to it. The law does not ask how long you have feared. It does not ask how often you have failed. It does not ask whether others would approve. It asks only, what are you assuming now? What are you accepting as true now? Who are you being now? And in this quiet hour, before sleep takes you, you may answer differently. You may answer, I am supplied. You may answer, wealth is natural to me. You may answer, money moves toward my state. You may answer, the bridge is forming in silence. You may answer, I do not chase, I receive. But do not hurry to the words. The words are not the treasure. The state is the treasure. The words are little vessels, and the state is the living water. If you speak them without feeling, they remain outside the gate. But if you let them awaken relief, if you allow them to soften the body, if you permit them to carry you from fear into quiet possession, then they enter. And what enters the subconscious in feeling must in its own perfect way seek expression. Think of the night as a sealed chamber with a single door. At that door stands no God but your own accepted state. Fear cannot carry you into wealth. Anxiety cannot carry you into supply. Desperation cannot carry you into peace. But assumption can, feeling can, naturalness can. The quiet certainty of I am can. The moment you cease trying to force the outer world and begin to occupy the inner fact, you have placed the key in the lock, and the lock opens inward. This is why I speak softly to you now, not because the law is weak, but because the deepest commands are often given in stillness. You do not need to become excited. Excitement often belongs to the one who is still outside the door. You do not need to become dramatic. Drama belongs to the senses. You need only become still enough to accept, still enough to feel, still enough to let wealth become ordinary within you. For wealth, when truly accepted, does not always feel like a trumpet. It often feels like a burden leaving the chest. It feels like the breath becoming easier. It feels like the body no longer bracing against tomorrow. It feels like a quiet room in consciousness where nothing is missing, where life is friendly, where provision is natural, where money is not a master but a servant of the state. That is the feeling you are moving toward tonight. Not the thrill of getting, the rest of having. The conscious mind may ask, but how will this attract wealth? How can a feeling before sleep move money? How can an assumption call forth outer change? These are natural questions for the mind that has been trained to worship appearances, but the seed does not explain to the soil how it will become a tree. It is planted, and the law of growth does the rest. In the same way, the state is planted in the subconscious, and the law of expression does what your conscious mind cannot design. You do not need to know who will speak, what door will open, what idea will come, what circumstance will shift, what timing will change. These are not your burden. The code does not require you to manage the bridge. It requires you to enter the state. When the state is accepted, the bridge begins. And often it begins so quietly that the anxious mind overlooks it. A thought comes, a letter arrives, a meeting occurs, a delay protects you, a closed door redirects you. A simple conversation becomes the thread by which a new condition is woven. This is how the law moves, naturally, silently, inevitably. So tonight, let us begin not by asking life for money, but by entering the state where money is no longer feared. Let us begin not by trying to attract wealth through effort, but by allowing the subconscious to receive wealth as normal. Let us begin not by fighting the old world, but by bringing a new key to the lock of night. The room around you may be quiet now. Perhaps there is only a faint sound, a small movement in the distance, the softness of your own breathing, the gentle heaviness of the hour. Let the room become a threshold. On one side is the visible world, with all its claims and demands. On the other side is the unseen world, where states are impressed and futures are born. You are standing between them now, not with the body, but with consciousness. And before you pass into sleep, you are choosing what you will carry through the door. Do not carry the old fear. Do not carry the old name. Do not carry the belief that money is distant. Do not carry the feeling that life is withholding. Do not carry the story that you are behind. These may have been garments you wore, but they are not your being. They are states, and a state can be left. You are not condemned to remain in the state you fell asleep in last night. You are not chained to the assumptions of yesterday. You may change the inner key tonight. Let the first movement be gentle. Simply recognize, I am. Before money, I am. Before lack, I am. Before wealth, I am. Before fear, I am. Before every story the world has told you, I am. That I am is the root of the code. That I am is the beginning of creation. What you attach to it becomes instruction. What you feel after it becomes seed. What you accept through it becomes world. Therefore, let I am no longer be joined to lack. Let it no longer be joined to fear. Let it no longer be joined to waiting. Tonight, let it be joined to supply. I am supplied. Let it be joined to wealth. I am wealthy in consciousness. Let it be joined to rest. I am safe. Let it be joined to provision. I am provided for. Let it be joined to naturalness. Wealth is normal to me. Do not force these words. Let them hover like a lamp in the dark. Let them show you the doorway. You are not trying to persuade yourself violently. You are allowing the deeper truth to become familiar. The subconscious does not need force. It needs acceptance. It opens to what feels true, what feels natural, what feels repeated in peace, what is carried into sleep without argument. And now you may begin to sense what tonight is really about. It is not about making something happen by strain. It is about ceasing from the state that has kept wealth outside the door. It is about no longer sleeping as one who begs, no longer entering the night as one who fears tomorrow, no longer giving the subconscious the old command and expecting a new world. Tonight you are learning to give a different command, not loudly, but deeply. The hidden money code works beneath the surface. It does not need your eyes upon it. It does not need your worry. It does not need your constant supervision. Once the state is accepted, it begins to move. While the body rests, the law works. While the conscious mind sleeps, the subconscious receives. While you are still, the bridge may begin forming in ways you cannot yet see. This is why you may rest. This is why you may let go. This is why the night can become your ally, instead of your enemy. So as these words continue, allow them to become less like instruction and more like atmosphere. You do not have to hold every sentence. You do not have to remember everything. Let the meaning sink deeper than memory. Let it pass beneath the surface of the mind where the real work is done. You are not listening as a student straining to understand. You are listening as one standing at the door of sleep, allowing a new state to enter. The night has a lock, and your state is the key. Money does not answer noise, it answers identity. The subconscious does not open to force, it opens to what you accept as true. Tonight you are not here to get money. You are here to become the one to whom wealth belongs. Let that be enough for this moment. Let that thought settle. Let the outer world fade a little. Let the old urgency loosen its fingers. You are entering the chamber where the code is received. You are entering the quiet place where I am. Feeling, assumption, naturalness, and sleep become one living act. And if you will allow it, without strain, without argument, without the old demand to know how, the subconscious will receive a new instruction tonight. Not lack, not fear, not waiting. Supply, wealth, relief, naturalness, the state where money can find you, the state where wealth belongs, the state you carry into sleep, and therefore the state the world must one day echo back to you. Now, let us look gently, but honestly, at the way man approaches money when he has forgotten who he is. I say gently because there is no condemnation in this. I know the weight of human need. I know how real the world appears when it presses upon the senses. I know how convincing a small purse can seem, how final a debt can appear, how loud tomorrow becomes when the heart is uncertain. So I am not asking you to pretend that you have never felt fear. I am asking you to understand what fear does when it is carried into the subconscious as truth. Most men, when they think of money, do not truly think of wealth. They think of escape. They think of relief from pressure. They think of avoiding shame. They think of surviving another day. They think of the letter on the table, the obligation waiting, the voice that must be answered, the promise that must be kept. And because their attention is fastened upon need, they imagine they are thinking about money, when in truth they are thinking from lack. The object in the mind may be money, but the state beneath it is absence. This is a distinction you must not miss. The subconscious does not hear your words alone. It hears the state wearing the words. A man may say, I am wealthy, while his whole inner being cries, I am desperate. He may say, money comes to me easily, while inwardly he feels abandoned, pressed, uncertain, and afraid. He may declare abundance with the mouth, while imagining disaster in the heart, and then he wonders why the declaration did not bear fruit. But the subconscious was not deceived. It received the feeling, not the decoration placed upon the feeling. This is why begging does not create wealth. To beg for money from lack is to confess that money is absent. To plead from fear is to assume that life is withholding. To pray from panic is to impress panic. And the subconscious, being faithful, receives what is actually accepted within, not what is spoken as a wish. If the hidden state is, I do not have enough, then even the most beautiful words about abundance may only clothe the old assumption. They do not change it. They merely cover it for a moment. Do not misunderstand me. Prayer is powerful, but prayer is not begging. Prayer, in its true form, is assumption. Prayer is the movement of consciousness into the state of the thing desired. Prayer is not asking a distant power to become merciful. Prayer is accepting within yourself that the thing is already so. When man begs, he stands outside the door. When man assumes, he enters the room. And tonight, I am not teaching you to stand outside the door of wealth and cry for entrance. I am teaching you to become one who already belongs inside. Many have said, Neville, I have prayed, I have asked, I have affirmed, I have spoken words of prosperity, and still money has not come. And I would ask them, from where did you pray? Not what words did you use, but from what state did you speak? Did you pray as one already answered, or as one still refused? Did you affirm as one who had entered the end, or as one who was trying to escape the beginning? Did you speak abundance while feeling supplied, or did you speak abundance as a man drowning speaks of land? You see, the law is exact. It does not answer the sound of a sentence. It answers the reality of the state. A sentence may be noble, but if the state is fear, fear is what is planted. A phrase may be correct, but if the feeling is poverty, poverty is what is impressed. This is why many become weary of affirmations. They repeat them as though the number of repetitions could compensate for the absence of inner acceptance. They say the words again and again, but beneath the words they remain the same frightened self. And the world continues to mirror that self, not because the law failed, but because the state remained unchanged. The code does not open to desperation, it opens to identity. That is the secret. The hidden money code is not opened by how badly you want wealth. It is opened by the self you dare to occupy. The subconscious asks nothing about your effort, your history, your suffering, or your explanations. It does not ask how many times you repeated the phrase. It asks, who are you being? Are you the one who is supplied, or the one who is waiting to be supplied? Are you the one to whom wealth is natural, or the one hoping wealth may someday visit? Are you the one who has entered, or the one still knocking? A man may knock forever if he continues to call himself an outsider. But the instant he assumes the state of belonging, the door has already opened within him, and once it opens within, the outer world must rearrange itself in the likeness of that inward fact. Not always by the road he imagined, not always according to the plan his reason preferred, but by the bridge of incidents which belongs to the accepted state. Now, let me speak plainly about the feeling of being abandoned by life, because many who seek money carry this secret wound. They do not merely want coins or paper. They want proof that life has not forgotten them. They want evidence that they are supported. They want the burden lifted from the chest. They want to feel that tomorrow is not an enemy waiting at the door. And so they ask for money, but beneath the request is a deeper assumption. I am alone. I must make it happen. No one comes. Nothing helps me. Life withholds from me. If that is the state carried into prayer, then the prayer is not truly for wealth. It is a repetition of abandonment. It says, give me money, while feeling I am unsupported. It says, bring me help, while feeling, I am forsaken. And because feeling is the secret, the subconscious receives the forsakenness. It receives the unsupported self. It receives the identity beneath the request. And then the outer world gives back conditions that seem to prove the identity true. But the identity was not true. It was only accepted. And what has been accepted can be released. You are not abandoned by life. You are not forgotten by God. You are not outside the order of supply. But you may have slept night after night as one who believed he was abandoned, and the night, being a faithful chamber, received that belief. You may have carried worry into the deep, and then awakened to a world that seemed to justify the worry. You may have gone to sleep asking, where will it come from? And awakened still looking at the same question. Do you see? The question itself became the command. The feeling of uncertainty was the seed. This is why I am asking you tonight to stop approaching money as a beggar. Not because you are unworthy of help, but because begging fixes your consciousness in need. The beggar looks toward the outside and waits. The one who assumes turns within and enters. The beggar says, please give me. The one who assumes says, I am supplied. The beggar trembles before appearances. The one who assumes understands that appearances are effects. The beggar worships money as cause. The one who assumes knows that consciousness is cause, and yet do not turn this into harshness against yourself. If you have begged, forgive yourself. If you have prayed from panic, forgive yourself. If you have repeated words of wealth while inwardly fearing poverty, forgive yourself. You did so because you did not understand the law. You were trying to survive by the means you knew, but now you are being shown a deeper way, a quieter way, a way that does not exhaust the body or frighten the heart. You are being shown that the change begins not by forcing the world, but by ceasing to identify with lack. For lack is not merely the absence of money. Lack is a state. Poverty is not merely an amount. It is a state. Financial fear is not merely a response to conditions. It is a state. And wealth, too, is a state. Supply is a state. Ease with money is a state. Financial safety is a state. These states are rooms in consciousness. Man enters one and calls it life. He enters another and calls it change. But the rooms were always within him. When you beg from lack, you remain in the room of lack while asking for the furniture of wealth. But the furniture belongs to the room. If you would experience wealth, enter the room called supplied. Enter the room called provided for. Enter the room called safe. Enter the room called money is natural to me. Do not stand in the room of fear, asking why the lamps of wealth do not burn there. Move. Change the state. Change the room. Then the forms belonging to that room must appear. This is why forced positivity is of little value. Many try to paint a smile upon fear and call it faith. They say, I must be positive. I must not think negative thoughts. I must force myself to believe. But force is not faith. Fear wearing a pleasant expression is still fear. The subconscious is not impressed by the face you show the world. It receives the inner consent. If you are inwardly trembling, then the smile does not plant peace. If you are inwardly panicked, then the cheerful sentence does not plant abundance. The seed is the state. True faith is quieter than forced positivity. It does not need to shout. It does not need to argue. It does not need to prove itself to every passing doubt. True faith is the inward movement into the end. It is the soft certainty that says, I am what I desired to be. It is not noise. It is not performance. It is not an attempt to convince the world. It is rest in an accepted identity. And so, if you find yourself trying to force positivity around money, stop for a moment. Do not fight yourself. Fighting yourself keeps attention upon the old state. Instead, ask gently, what would I feel if I truly knew I was supplied? Not what would I say to impress another, not what would I shout to defeat fear, but what would I feel if the matter were settled? Perhaps you would feel relief. Perhaps you would breathe more deeply. Perhaps your shoulders would fall. Perhaps you would no longer look at tomorrow as a threat. Perhaps you would feel a quiet, simple, almost ordinary safety. That feeling is closer to wealth than 1,000 anxious affirmations. Money, when truly received in consciousness, does not always feel dramatic. It may feel like rest. It may feel like a closed account finally settled. It may feel like the absence of a knot in the stomach. It may feel like standing in a room where nothing is chasing you. It may feel like the quiet dignity of being able to meet life without shrinking. That is the state you are seeking. Not money as an idol, not money as a savior, not money as something to worship from afar, but money as a natural expression of supply. If you ask, when will money come? From the state of waiting. waiting is impressed. If you ask, why has it not come? From the state of absence. Absence. If you ask, what must I do to make it come? From the state of helplessness. Helplessness is impressed. But if you enter the assumption, I am supplied, and feel it until the body softens, then supply is impressed. The question is no longer, when will it come? The question becomes, who am I as I fall asleep? For the one you are in sleep is the one the subconscious receives. I have said often that feeling is the secret, and I say it again here, because in matters of money, men forget it most quickly. They believe money is hard, practical, outside, resistant. They imagine that inner feeling may apply to love, or mood, or imagination, but not to money. Yet money is only another form in the world of effects. It is moved by the same law. It answers assumption because all experience answers assumption. The coin, the opportunity, the contract, the gift, the idea, the opening, the sudden change in circumstance. These are all outer garments. The body beneath them is consciousness. To ask for money while inwardly worshipping lack is to plant lack. To affirm wealth while secretly living as the one who cannot receive is to plant not receiving. To pray for abundance while feeling unworthy is to plant unworthiness. And the subconscious again is faith. It does not judge, it reflects. It does not ask if you meant to do it. It accepts the state you gave it and builds accordingly. But now, my friend, tonight you can stop giving it the old state. You do not need to repair every thought you have ever thought. You do not need to undo the past with struggle. You only need to understand the moment of entrance. You only need to become aware of what you carry into the night. You only need to refuse to carry lack as your final identity. If worry comes, do not panic. Simply recognize it as an old visitor. It has no authority unless you make it your dwelling place. Let it pass. Return to the state. Return to I am supplied. Return to I am provided for. Return to I am safe. Return to wealth is natural to me. Return to money moves toward the state I occupy. At first, these may seem like words. That is all right. Do not demand that they become mountains in one instant. Let them repeat gently enough that the body begins to believe them. Let them soften the inner resistance. Let them show you the direction of the state. You are not beating the mind into obedience. You are leading it into rest. And if the mind says, but I do not see it, answer it inwardly. I am not living from sight tonight. If the mind says, but nothing has changed, answer, I am changing the cause. If the mind says, but what if it fails, answer, the Lord. And then do not argue further. Argument gives the old state importance. Quiet return gives the new state authority. This is an important thing to understand. You do not defeat lack by hating it. You defeat lack by ceasing to be it. You do not defeat poverty by fighting poverty in thought. You defeat poverty by assuming supply. You do not defeat fear by wrestling it through the night. You let fear die by withdrawing belief from it and placing belief in a new identity. The old state cannot live without your attention. If you do not feed it with feeling, it weakens. So when you feel the old plea rising, when the heart wants to say, please, please let money come, pause. Behind the plea is a state. Do not condemn it, but do not enthrone it. Do not let it become your final prayer before sleep. Translate it. Let the plea become assumption. Instead of please let money come, enter. Money is moving now. Instead of I cannot manage, enter, everything is being provided. Instead of when will it happen, enter, it is already taking form. This is how you change the command. You do not deny desire, you transform its position. Desire from lack says, I am without. Desire from assumption says, I am becoming conscious of what is already mine in the unseen. One is begging, the other is receiving. One keeps you outside, the other lets you enter. Tonight, the subconscious money code will not open because you plead harder. It will not open because you fear more intensely. It will not open because you strain to be positive. The code does not open to desperation. It opens to identity. It opens when I am is joined to supply. It opens when feeling gives life to the assumption. It opens when wealth begins to feel natural enough to be carried into sleep. It opens when the conscious mind stops demanding proof and allows the deeper mind to receive a new state. Let this understanding remove pressure from you. You do not have to beg life tonight. You do not have to impress God with your need. The Father knows before you ask, Because the Father is your own wonderful human imagination, the creative power within you. You do not persuade that power by panic. You direct it by assumption. You commune with it by feeling. You impress it by becoming. And now perhaps you can see why so many prayers seem unanswered. They were not unanswered, they were answered according to the state from which they were offered. The man prayed for wealth, but felt poverty. Poverty answered. The woman prayed for support, but felt abandonment. Abandonment answered. Another prayed for freedom, but felt trapped. The trap answered. The law was working even then. It was simply reproducing the accepted inner fact. This should not frighten you. It should free you. For if the law reproduced the old state, then it can reproduce the new. If the subconscious accepted fear before, it can accept relief now. If it accepted lack before, it can accept supply now. If it accepted the identity of the one who waits, it can accept the identity of the one who has received. The power was never absent, it was only misdirected. Let this night be the beginning of direction, not effort. Direction, not panic. Direction, not begging. You are directing consciousness toward the state of supply. You are bringing I am into agreement with wealth. You are allowing the feeling of being provided for to become the last impression of the night. There is no need to shout. There is no need to plead. There is no need to force a feeling that has not yet come. Begin where you are, but do not remain there. If all you can feel at first is a small measure of relief, let that be enough. If all you can accept is, I am being guided, begin there. If the words, I am wealthy, feel too distant tonight, then say, I am supplied. If that feels too far, say, I am willing to feel supported, but do not return to, I am abandoned. Do not return to, nothing comes. Do not return to, I am without. Those are old codes. Those are old instructions. Tonight, you are learning to give the subconscious a new one. And as you listen, yes, perhaps you have asked for money while feeling lack. Perhaps you have spoken abundance while fearing poverty. Perhaps you have prayed for relief while assuming pressure. Perhaps you have said, I believe, while secretly waiting for the world to disappoint you. This was not failure. It was unconscious creation. Now it becomes conscious. The moment you see that the feeling was the command, you are no longer helpless. You do not need to beg the mirror to change. You change the face before it. You do not need to plead with the shadow. You move the substance. You do not need to chase money from the state of lack. You enter the state where money belongs. So let this truth sink in as the night deepens around you. The subconscious does not hear your words alone. It hears the state wearing the words. To beg for money from lack is to confess that money is absent. The code does not open to desperation. It opens to identity. And tonight your identity may change, not with violence, not with effort, not with strain, quietly, inwardly, lawfully. You may stop being the one who pleads and begin being the one who receives. You may stop being the one who waits for money to save him and begin being the one who knows supply as his natural state. You may stop being the one who falls asleep, abandoned by life, and begin being the one who sleeps held within the order of provision. This is the beginning of wealth. Not the outer sign first, but the inner acceptance. Not the money first, but the state. Not the evidence first, but the assumption. And as you enter that assumption, the deep mind receives a different command. I am supplied. I am supported. I am not abandoned. Money is not far from me. Wealth belongs to my state. The bridge is forming. The law is working. I do not beg. I receive. Let these words become less like sentences and more like the atmosphere of the room within you. Let them quiet the old. Let them loosen the fear that has tried to call itself realism. Let them turn you gently from lack to identity. For you are not here tonight to cry before an absent power. You are here to remember the power within you, to give it a new state, and to enter sleep as the one who has already begun to receive. Now, I must make one thing very clear before we go deeper into the night. When I speak of a subconscious money code, I am not giving you a trick. I am not placing in your hand a charm to repeat without understanding. I am not offering you a little formula to mutter in the dark while remaining inwardly the same. Men love tricks because tricks seem to promise change without transformation. They love charms because charms appear to remove responsibility from consciousness. They love secret words because they imagine that if only they can find the right sound, the right phrase, the right hidden arrangement, life will change, while the inner man remains unchanged. But the law does not work that way. The law is not bribed by words. It is not flattered by repetition. It is not fooled by the tongue. The law is not a merchant with whom you bargain, nor a judge whom you persuade, nor a distant power whom you convince by the length of your pleading. The law is, it is inward. It is faithful. It gives form to the state you occupy. Therefore, when I speak of a code, I speak of a lawful order in consciousness, not a superstition. The code is not written in numbers. It is written in being. Let that sentence enter you slowly. The code is not written in numbers. It is written in being. It is not written in the outer symbols of the world. It is written in what you dare to call yourself within. It is written in the name you silently wear before you fall asleep. It is written in the feeling you carry when no one sees you. It is written in the assumption beneath your words, beneath your hopes, beneath your prayers, beneath your anxieties. It is written in the secret answer you give to the question, who am I? For every man is always answering that question. He may not know it, he may be silent with the mouth, but inwardly he is always declaring himself, I am poor, I am late, I am unlucky, I am forgotten, I am struggling, I am not chosen, I am not supported, or I am supplied, I am guided, I am richly provided for, I am safe, I am the one whom wealth finds, I am the one through whom life expresses abundance. These inner declarations are not idle. They are not little private thoughts that vanish without effect. They are the first lines of creation. The hidden code of wealth is the state you dare to call I am. This is why I say the beginning of every change is identity. I am determines identity. Identity determines feeling. Feeling impresses the subconscious. The subconscious externalizes the state, and the world reflects the accepted assumption. That is the order. That is the code. It is not mechanical, but it is exact. It is not complicated, but it is powerful. It is not outside you, but it governs everything you call outside. First, I am determines I. Before you can have a new world, you must accept a new self. Man wants to change his conditions while keeping the old name. He wants wealth while secretly saying, I am poor. He wants freedom while secretly saying, I am trapped. He wants support while secretly saying, I am alone. And because he does not understand the law, he tries to add wealth to the state of poverty, freedom to the state of bondage, support to the state of abandonment. But the state is the root, and the condition is the fruit. You cannot keep planting the old root and demand a different fruit. Therefore, if you would let this subconscious money code attract wealth, you must begin where all true creation begins. You must begin with I am, not I will be, not I hope to be, not perhaps one day I may become. Those are states of postponement. They keep the desire just ahead of you. They make tomorrow the God you worship. But I am is the creative name. It is the doorway through which every state enters expression. When you say inwardly, I am supplied, and you accept it, you have named yourself in a new way. When you say, I am richly provided for, and you feel the quiet relief of it, you are no longer begging the world for proof. You are giving the subconscious a new identity to externalize. When you say, wealth is natural to me, and it begins to feel ordinary, familiar, not strange, then you have touched the living code. You have stopped treating wealth as an event you are waiting for, and begun wearing it as a state. Identity determines feeling. This is the second movement of the code. A man feels according to who he believes himself to be. He does not merely feel according to what he sees according to what he is. If he believes himself to be abandoned, then even the kindness of life may appear uncertain. If he believes himself to be poor, then even an opportunity may seem too good to trust. If he believes himself to be unlucky, then even an open door may frighten him, for he expects it to close. His feeling follows his identity as naturally as a shadow follows the body. This is why you cannot force true feeling while remaining in the old self. You may try to feel rich while secretly identifying as poor, but the feeling will not remain. You may try to feel safe while calling yourself threatened, but the body will resist. You may try to feel chosen while living inwardly as the rejected one, but the feeling will be thin, unstable, and easily disturbed. Feeling becomes natural only when identity changes, and identity changes when I am is joined to the desired state. So do not ask, how can I feel wealthy while my outer world seems unchanged? Ask instead, who would I be if wealth were already natural to me? Who would I be if money were not a threat? Who would I be if I were not waiting for supply, but living from supply? Who would I be if the matter were settled in consciousness? When you answer that inwardly, not as a theory, but as a state, feeling begins to follow. Relief comes. The breath changes. The chest loosens. The mind no longer races in the same way. The body, that faithful instrument, begins to testify that you have entered another state. Feeling impresses the subconscious. This is the third movement of the code. Words alone do not go deep unless feeling carries them. A phrase spoken without feeling is like a letter never sealed. It may contain the correct words, but it is not sent. Feeling seals it. Feeling gives it weight. Feeling gives it life. Feeling is the living ink with which the decree is written upon the subconscious. This is why the hour before sleep is so sacred. In the day, the conscious mind argues. It says, look at the evidence, look at what has not happened, look at the old account, look at the old pattern, look at the facts. And if you are not watchful, you bow before those facts as though they were the cause of your life. But at night, as the senses grow dim, the conscious guard weakens. The outer world loses some of its tyranny. The deeper mind becomes receptive. And what is felt there, what is accepted there, what is carried into sleep there, enters with unusual power. If you fall asleep in the feeling of lack, lack is impressed. If you fall asleep in the feeling of fear, fear is impressed. If you fall asleep feeling that money is far away, that distance is impressed. But if you fall asleep in the feeling of being supplied, the subconscious receives supply as fact. If you fall asleep in the quiet relief of already having enough, relief is impressed. If you fall asleep in the naturalness of wealth, wealth is impressed. This is not imagination as idle dreaming. This is imagination as the creative act. The subconscious externalizes the state. This is the fourth movement. And this is where man must learn patience without passivity, faith without tension. The subconscious does not merely store impressions, it expresses them. It takes the accepted state and begins to clothe it in circumstance. It finds the means, it arranges the bridge, it moves through paths the conscious mind could not design. It brings a thought, a meeting, a letter, a change of feeling, a new impulse, a forgotten connection, an unexpected opening, a release, a redirection. It works beneath the surface, as seed works in the earth. The seed does not ask you to pull it into a tree. It asks only that you plant it, so it is with the state. Once impressed, it moves. Not always with noise, not always with spectacle. Often the first signs are subtle, a change in your own tone, a quieter response where fear used to rise, a sudden idea that feels simple, a conversation that appears ordinary, a small sum arriving unexpectedly, a burden shifting in a way you could not have planned. The bridge begins where your senses may not yet recognize it, and then the world This is the fifth movement. The outer world is not independent of consciousness. It is consciousness made visible. It is the shadow of state. The world you meet is the echo of what has been accepted within. This is why I tell you not to fight shadows. Do not argue with the echo. Do not scream at the reflection. Change the state. Accept the new assumption. Give the subconscious the new identity. Let the feeling enter. Then the world must, in its own appointed way, rearrange. Now, men miss this because they are always searching outside. They imagine the code is hidden far away. They think it must be in some distant teaching, some secret society, some rare method, some difficult practice. They think the more obscure a thing is, the more powerful it must be. But law is simple. The anxious mind is complicated. Law moves in a straight line. The anxious mind creates circles. Law says, assume the end. The anxious mind says, but how, when, through whom, by what means, and what if it does not come? Law says, I am. The anxious mind says, I will try to become. Law says, feel it real. The anxious mind says, let me first inspect every possible failure. Law is simple. The anxious mind is complicated. The code is not hidden because it is difficult. It is hidden because it is too near. It is hidden in the very consciousness with which you look for it. It is hidden in your own I am, which you have used every day without understanding its sacredness. It is hidden in your nightly feeling, which you have carried to bed without realizing you were planting seed. It is hidden in your assumptions, so familiar that they seem like facts. It is hidden in naturalness, that quiet feeling that something simply belongs to you. It is hidden in sleep, the common doorway every man enters, not knowing he is crossing the threshold of creation. Do you see the wonder of this? The door has been with you always. The key has been with you always. The code has been operating always. You were never outside the law. Even when life seemed hard, the law was working. Even when money seemed distant, the law was working. Even when fear repeated itself, the law was working. It was only reproducing the state accepted within. This realization should not make you afraid. It should make you free. For if the law has faithfully reproduced lack, then it can faithfully reproduce wealth. If it has reflected fear, it can reflect relief. If it has externalized the state of waiting, it can externalize the state of having. The power has not been absent, it has been obedient. This is why I do not want you to treat this as a trick. A trick is something you perform while remaining inwardly divided. A law is something you enter with your whole being. A trick makes you ask, did I? A law makes you ask, what state am I occupying? A trick leads to superstition. A law leads to freedom. A trick keeps power outside you. A law reveals that power is consciousness. Suppose a man hears a phrase and says, if I repeat this 10 times before sleep, money must come. But as he repeats it, he trembles, he fears tomorrow, he imagines absence, he watches the outer world in panic. Has he used the code? No. He has remained the old self while trying to perform a new ritual. The subconscious receives the old self. Now suppose another man says only one simple sentence, I am supplied. He says it softly, perhaps not many times, but as he says it, he lets the body loosen. He allows the feeling of relief. He imagines nothing complicated. He does not argue with the outer facts. He enters the mood of already being provided for. He falls asleep from that mood. This man has used fewer words, but he has entered a deeper state, and the state, not the number of words, is the command. This is the difference between mechanism and law. Mechanism asks, what exact phrase must I say? Law asks, what am I accepting as true? Mechanism asks, how many times must I repeat it? Law asks, has it become real to me? Mechanism asks, how soon will money appear? Law asks, am I living in the end? Mechanism is anxious. The hidden money code is not a formula that substitutes for faith. It is the order by which faith becomes form. And faith, as I use the word, is not belief in something far away. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality you have accepted. Faith is remaining inwardly true to the state before the senses confirm it. Faith is not loud. It is not strained. It is the quiet refusal to abandon the end simply because the old world still stands before you. And money, like every other experience, must follow state. Men have made money into an idol because they think it gives them identity. They say, if I had money, then I would be secure. If I had money, then I would be free. If I had money, then I would be respected. If I had money, then I would rest. But this is the wrong order. Identity comes first. Feeling follows identity. The subconscious receives the feeling. Then the world takes form. Therefore, let your state become the cause of money. Do not say, when money comes, I will feel supplied. Say, I am supplied. And let money find the state that corresponds to it. Do not say, when the outer evidence appears, I will feel safe. Say, I am safe in consciousness now, and let the evidence appear. Do not say, when wealth arrives, I will finally rest. Rest now in the state of wealth, and let wealth take its outer form. This is not pretending. Pretending says one thing while knowing another. Assumption accepts inwardly what the senses have not yet confirmed. That is the creative act. The world calls this foolish because the world trusts the senses. But the senses only report what has already been made. They do not tell you what must be. They tell you what has been impressed. They are witnesses of past states. To live by them alone is to be bound to yesterday. But imagination, rightly used, is the power to select a new state before the senses confirm it. This is why the invisible is greater than the visible. The visible is the harvest. The invisible is the seed. And tonight, you are working with seed, not with noise, not with force, not with panic. Seed. I am is the seed of identity. Feeling is the life within it. Assumption is the planting. Naturalness is the soil accepting it. Sleep is the darkness where it begins. The subconscious is the womb. The outer world is the birth. That is the order. That is the code, not a trick, a law. When this becomes clear, you stop chasing shortcuts. You stop looking for one magic sentence that will save you from the need to become. You stop asking life to reward an old identity with a new world. You understand that the new world belongs to the new state. Therefore, your task tonight is not to strain for wealth, but to enter the state of the wealthy one. Not to beg for money, but to become conscious of supply. Not to repeat words in fear, but to let the feeling of being provided for descend into the subconscious. The code is not complicated. The mind makes it complicated because it is frightened. Fear wants many steps. Fear wants guarantees. Fear wants to inspect the bridge before crossing it. Fear wants to know every possible channel. Fear says, show me first, then I will believe. But law says, believe, and then you will. Law says, enter the state, and the state will clothe itself. Law says, sleep in the end, and the morning will begin to echo what the night received. So if your mind tonight asks for the trick, answer it gently, there is no trick, there is law. If it asks for the charm, answer, the charm is being. If it asks for the secret number, answer, the code is not written in numbers, it is written in being. If it asks where the money will come from, answer, the bridge belongs to the state, not to my anxious planning. If it asks whether this is too simple, answer, law is simple. The anxious mind is complicated. Let the simplicity comfort you. You do not need to become a scholar of methods. You do not need to collect endless formulas. You do not need to search the world for what is already at the center of your own consciousness. You need to know who you are being as you fall asleep. You need to know what you are accepting as true. You need to know what feeling is being planted in the deep. Tonight, if you fall asleep as the one still begging, begging will be planted. If you fall asleep as the one still waiting, waiting will be planted. If you fall asleep as the one still abandoned, abandonment will be planted. But if you fall asleep as the one supplied, supply will be planted. If you fall asleep as the one for whom wealth is natural, natural wealth will be planted. If you fall asleep as the one money can find, the subconscious will receive that identity and begin to externalize it. Do not demand that the outer world explain itself before you enter the state. That demand is another form of delay. Enter first, feel first, assume first. Let the law do what law does. You do not ask fire to prove it will burn before you bring it the wood. You do not ask the earth to prove the harvest before you plant the seed. You do not ask sleep to prove the morning before you close your eyes. You enter the order of the thing, and the order fulfills itself. So enter the order of wealth. Begin with I am. Let I am become supplied. Let supplied become feeling. Let feeling become natural. Let naturalness enter sleep. Let sleep deliver the state to the subconscious. Let the subconscious externalize the state. Let the world reflect the accepted assumption. This is the subconscious money code. It is not a trick you perform. It is a law you enter. And as you enter it, you will begin to understand that wealth was never truly outside you as a distant object to be chased. It was a state to be accepted, a name to be worn, a feeling to be inhabited, a seed to be carried into the deep. Let that be the understanding now. Let it quiet the urge to force. Let it release the need for complicated methods. Let it turn you inward, where all true change begins. The law is simple. I am. Feeling, assumption, naturalness, sleep. The subconscious receiving the final state. The world reflecting the accepted assumption. And tonight, softly, without strain, you are learning to enter the law. Before there is any condition in your world, there is I am. Before the coin is in the hand or absent from the hand, there is I am. Before the debt, before the account, before the bill, before the opportunity, before the door that opens, and before the door that seems closed, there is I am. This is the beginning of all things in your world, not as a phrase merely spoken, but as the very root of being. Man looks at his circumstances and says, because this is so, I am so. He sees lack and says, I am poor. He sees pressure and says, I am struggling. He sees others rise and says, I am unlucky. But he does not understand that he has reversed the order. He thinks the condition gave birth to the I am, when in truth, the I am accepted a state, and the condition followed it like a shadow. Before you ever said, I am broke, there was I am. Before you ever said, I am wealthy, there was I am. Before you ever said, I am struggling, there was I am. Before you ever said, I am afraid of tomorrow, there was I am. The power is not in broke. The power is not in wealthy. The power is not in struggling. The power is not in afraid. The power is in I am, and whatever you join to it becomes creative within you. This is why I tell you to listen carefully to your own inner naming. Man is forever naming himself, And because he does it silently, he thinks it is harmless. He calls himself poor in the secret place of the heart. He calls himself behind. He calls himself forgotten. He calls himself one who never has enough. He calls himself one who is not good with money. He calls himself one who must wait for money. He calls himself one who must struggle for every blessing. Then he steps into the world and finds that the world appears to agree with him. But the world did not begin the agreement. He did. Every I am is an instruction. It is not a casual sentence. It is not a little thought floating through the mind without consequence. Every I am is an instruction to the subconscious. It tells the deeper self what you are consenting to be. It gives the creative power within you a name to express. When you say, I am broke, and you feel it, you are not describing a condition only. You are instructing the subconscious to continue the state of being broke. When you say, I am behind, and you dwell in it, you are not reporting a fact. You are accepting a state. When you say, I am unlucky, you are clothing yourself in a state and asking the world to show you its garments. Now, I do not say this to frighten you. Fear would only be another misuse of I am. I say it to awaken you. If you have used the creative name against yourself, you can begin now to use it for yourself. If you have unknowingly attached I am to lack, you can detach it. If you have joined I am to fear, you can release that union. If you have joined I am to waiting, to struggle, to poverty, to uncertainty, you can quietly withdraw your consent. You are not bound to the states you have named. You are the namer. What you join to I am becomes a seed in the subconscious. It may not look like a seed because it is invisible. It may not feel dramatic because you have repeated it so often that it feels like realism. But that is precisely why it is powerful. The subconscious accepts what feels natural. When a man has said, I am not good with money, for years he no longer hears it as a creative decree. He hears it as truth. He says it with the tired authority of experience. But experience is only the harvest of states once planted. If he continues to plant the same words with the same feeling, he will continue to harvest the same world and call it proof. Do you see the circle? A man says, I am poor. The subconscious receives the identity. The world mirrors poverty. The man sees the poverty and says, see, I am poor. Again, the subconscious receives the identity. Again, the world mirrors it. Thus he lives inside his own decree, not knowing that the door was never locked from the outside. The lock was his accepted name. Tonight you are learning to change the name, not with violence, not with denial, not by pretending in the shallow way that men fear when they first hear this teaching. You are not asked to deny that certain appearances exist. You are asked to deny them the right to name you. There is a great difference. You may see an account, but you need not say, I am poor. You may see an obligation, but you need not say, I am trapped. You may see delay, but you need not say, I am abandoned. You may see the old harvest, but you need not plant the old seed again. The outer fact may stand before you for a moment, but you choose the inner name, and the inner name is cause. Your I am is the first before feeling, before sleep, before the subconscious receives the final impression, before the world reflects the assumption, there is I am. It is the first symbol, the first word, the first door. If you misuse it, all that follows is colored by the misuse. If you redeem it, all that follows begins to change. For I am is not merely something you say, it is the point from which you live. Now, let us look at the old money identities, not to dwell upon them, but to see them clearly enough to leave them. I am broke, I am behind, I am struggling, I am unlucky, I am not good with money, I am waiting for money, I am afraid of tomorrow. These are not facts about your being. They are states you have worn. They may have felt heavy, familiar, even reasonable. They may have seemed justified by the evidence, but no state is your permanent self. A state you may leave one room and enter another. A man says, I am broke, and immediately he feels small. The body contracts. The breath becomes shallow. Tomorrow becomes threatening. The imagination begins to gather scenes that agree with the name. He sees himself lacking, apologizing, delaying, explaining, shrinking. The world has not even moved yet, but inwardly he has entered a prison. This is what an I am can do when joined to lack. Another says, I am behind. He may have only meant that an obligation is late, but the phrase becomes identity. I am behind in life. I am behind others. I am behind where I should be. Then every comparison becomes a lash. Every success of another becomes evidence against him. Every delay becomes personal. but behind is a state. It is not the truth of I am. I am itself is not behind. I am is present. I am is now. The state called behind, and because he has joined struggle to I am, struggle becomes noble in his imagination. He begins to believe that life must be hard for him, that every good thing must come through exhaustion, that money must be earned only by strain, that rest is unsafe, that ease belongs to others. Then, if money comes easily, he may distrust it. If an opportunity appears, he may sabotage it. If relief approaches, he may feel unworthy of it. Why? Because I am struggling became his name, and anything unlike that name feels foreign. Another says, I am unlucky. This is one of the most subtle imprisonments. To call oneself unlucky is to surrender the creative power and place life in the hands of chance. It is to say, I am not the operant power. I am the victim of accident. It is to forget that consciousness is cause, but there is no luck in the law. What men call luck is simply state made visible. The man who calls himself unlucky will overlook openings, distrust help, expect disappointment, and interpret events through the color of misfortune. Then he will say, see how unlucky I am. But he is only seeing the echo of his accepted name. Another says, I am not good with money. A little sentence, perhaps spoken lightly, perhaps inherited from family, perhaps repeated after some youthful mistake. But what does it do? It gives the subconscious an identity to express. If I am not good with money, then money becomes something unstable around me. It comes and goes. It frightens me. I mishandle it. I avoid looking at it. I feel unworthy of keeping it. I expect confusion. And then the world seems to confirm the statement. But the statement was the seed. Another says, I am waiting for money. This sounds innocent. It sounds practical. But waiting is a state. If you are waiting, then you are not having. If you are waiting, then the subconscious receives not possession, but delay. It does not receive wealth. It receives the identity of the one who waits for wealth. And what must the world reflect? More waiting. Another says, I am afraid of tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes the stage upon which fear performs. The mind imagines difficulty. The body prepares for threat. The heart contracts before the day has even come. But tomorrow is not the enemy. Tomorrow is the child of today's. If you sleep tonight as one afraid of tomorrow, you are giving tomorrow the shape of fear. If you sleep tonight as one supplied, tomorrow must begin to bend toward supply. Now, let us replace these old names, not with empty optimism, but with true spiritual identity. I am supplied. Say it inwardly, not as a shout, not as a battle cry, but as a recognition. I am supplied. There is a softness in it. There is a dignity in it. It does not ask the outer world for permission. It names the state. I am financially safe. Let that phrase touch the body. Financial safety is not first a number. It is a state of consciousness. It is the feeling that life is not against you, that money is not a threat, that tomorrow is not a sword hanging above your head. I am financially safe. If you can begin to feel even the faintest echo of that, you are planting a new seed. I am richly provided for. Rich provision may enter through many channels, and the conscious mind need not manage them. I am richly provided for means the state of provision has been accepted. It means life has a way. It means the bridge is forming. It means supply belongs to the identity I am now wearing. I am the one wealth finds. This is not arrogance. It is assumption. It means you are no longer chasing from lack. You are no longer begging from outside the door. You are allowing yourself to become the state to which wealth corresponds. Wealth finds the wealthy state. Money finds the identity that accepts it as natural. Forms move toward the consciousness that belongs with them. I am living in abundance now. Be careful with the word now. It does not mean the senses have already given you their report. It means you are no longer postponing the state. You are not saying, one day I will live in abundance. You are saying, I enter abundance in consciousness now. I accept the state now. I let feeling follow now. The world may need a bridge, but consciousness enters at once. I am supported by the law. This is a beautiful name to carry into sleep. Not supported by chance, not supported only by one person, not supported only by one visible channel, supported by law, supported by the faithful relationship between assumption and expression, supported by the creative order of your own wonderful human imagination. If you accept that, the body begins to rest. for the burden of how is no longer yours. Now you may notice that these new names feel different in the body. The old names tightened you. The new names may at first feel unfamiliar, but they begin to open something. They invite breath, they invite stillness, they invite relief. This is how you know you are touching a new state. The body is often the first witness that a new assumption is entering. It may not fully believe at once, but it softens, it leans toward the new name. Do not demand perfect belief in a single moment. Naturalness grows through gentle occupation. You do not need to force the words. You need to return to them until they become more familiar than the old names. The old state became natural through repetition. The new state will also become natural through repetition. But let the repetition be quiet. Let it be inward. Let it be done especially at night, when the conscious guard is tired and the subconscious is receptive. I am supplied. I am financially safe. I am richly provided for. I am the one wealth finds. I am living in abundance now. I am supported by the law. Do you feel how different this is from begging? Begging says, please make me supplied. Assumption says, I am supplied. Assumption says, I am financially safe. Begging says, please send money to me. Assumption says, I am the one wealth finds. One speaks from absence. The other speaks from identity. And identity is the first symbol of the code. Now some may say, but Neville, how can I say I am supplied when the world seems to deny it? And I answer, you have been saying other things without question, though they too were only states. You said, I am strong, but you did not realize that the agreement came after the inner naming. You said, I am unlucky, and life seemed to prove it. But you did not understand that you were interpreting life through that state. You said, I am waiting for money, and waiting continued. Now I ask you to test the law in the other direction. Do not give all your faith to lack, and then call faith in supply unrealistic. The world has trained you to call fear wisdom and assumption fantasy. But I tell you, fear is imagination misused. Anxiety is faith in the undesirable. Worry is loyalty to a state you do not want. If you can imagine disaster and feel it as real, you can imagine provision and feel it as real. If you can lie awake fearing tomorrow, you can lie still tonight accepting support. The power is the same, only the direction changes. This is why I say, stop using I am against yourself. You would not knowingly place poison into a cup and drink it every night, yet many place poison after I am and then drink it inwardly. I am poor, I am hopeless, I am too late, I am not enough, I am always struggling. These are bitter cups and the subconscious receives them. Pour them out. They are not your truth. They are states, and you are greater than every state you have entered. Before every state, there is I am. That means there is always freedom. If I am came before the state, I am can leave the state. If I am wore poverty, I am can wear supply. If I am wore fear, I am can wear safety. If I am wore struggle, I am can wear ease. The garment is not the wearer. The state is not the being. You are the one who enters and exits states, though you may have forgotten this and mistaken the garment for yourself. Tonight, as sleep approaches, you are not trying to convince the outer. You are not pleading with money. You are renaming yourself before the subconscious. You are taking the first line of the hidden code and writing it differently. I am supplied. I am provided for. I am safe. I am wealthy in consciousness. I am the one wealth finds. These are not merely affirmations. They are instructions. Every I am is an instruction. What you join to I am becomes a seed in the subconscious. Your I am is the first line of the hidden code. Let these words become solemn, but not heavy, sacred, but not strained. You are not under pressure to do this perfectly. You are being invited to stop cursing yourself with old names. You are being invited to stop baptizing yourself in lack every night. You are being invited to speak the creative name with reverence and attach to it only what you would see expressed. If the old voice returns and says, I am broke, do not wrestle with it. Simply answer with the new. If it says, I am behind, answer, I am held in divine order. If it says, I am struggling, answer, I am supported by the law. If it says, I am unlucky, answer, I am guided by assumption. If it says, I am waiting for money, answer, I am living in abundance now. Do not argue, replace, do not fight, rename. The old state feeds on your reaction. If you become frightened by it, you give it importance. If you argue with it, But if you quietly turn to the new I am, you withdraw life from the old. The old name fades when it is no longer believed. The new name grows when it is repeatedly occupied. This is the gentle discipline of creation. Now I want you to understand the depth of I am. It is not merely personal, it is divine. When Moses asked for the name, the answer was I am, not I was, not I will be. I am, the eternal present, the creative present. When you say I am, you are standing at the threshold of divine creative power. To add to it carelessly is to misuse the name. To add to it consciously is to create. Therefore, let tonight be a cleansing of the name. Let I am be washed of poverty. Let I am be washed of fear. Let I am be washed of the old story of money. Let it no longer be followed by lack, delay, struggle, or dread. Let it be followed by supply. Let it be followed by peace. Let it be followed by quiet confidence. Let it be followed by the naturalness of abundance. I am supplied. Do not rush past it. I am supplied. Let it descend. I am supplied. Let the body hear it. I am financially safe. Let tomorrow lose its threat. I am richly provided for. Let the bridge begin in silence. I am the one wealth finds. Let money stop being an enemy. And I am supported by the law. Let the burden of how fall away. This is not something you do once with force and abandon. It is a state you return to, especially at the threshold of sleep, until it becomes more natural than fear. For the subconscious receives the familiar as true. If fear has been familiar, it has seemed true. If lack has been familiar, it has seemed true. But familiarity is not truth, it is repetition. And now you repeat the truth of supply until supply becomes familiar. Let the night help you. The night is kind to assumption. The night softens the senses. It loosens the grip of the visible. It allows a new name to sink deeper than it could in the noise of day. So when you lie down, do not carry the old I am into the chamber. Do not place I am poor upon the altar of sleep. Do not place I am afraid of tomorrow into the subconscious before rest. Do not give the deep mind the old instruction and ask why the old world returns. I am supplied. I am safe. I am provided for. I am the one wealth finds. I am supported by the law. Let this be the first symbol of the money code within you. Let I am become clean, powerful, deliberate. Let it no longer be dragged behind the facts of yesterday. Let it stand before the facts of tomorrow. For I am is not the servant of circumstances. Circumstances are servants of I am. When I am is consciously assumed, they do not need ceremony. They do not need your hatred. They need only to be left. You may leave them like a man leaving a dark room when he discovers the door was open. The dark room may still be there, but he no longer lives in it. So you may leave I am broke. You may leave I am behind. You may leave I am struggling. You may leave I am unlucky. You may leave I am not good with money. You may leave I am waiting. You may leave I am afraid of tomorrow. And you may enter I am financially safe. I am richly provided for. I am the one wealth finds. I am living in abundance now. I am supported by the law. This is the beginning. This is the first line. This is the sacred symbol. Your I am is the first line of the hidden code, and tonight you begin to write it in wealth. Now let us look more deeply at the thing that keeps many men bound, even when they have heard the law, even when they have repeated the words, even when they have tried to believe. Will be that desire itself is enough. They say, I want money. I need money. I think of it often. I pray for it. I long for it. Surely, because I desire it so intensely, it must come. But I tell you, desire alone is not the command. Desire may awaken you. Desire may stir you. Desire may call your attention to a state you are meant to enter. But desire, if held from lack, only keeps the thing desired at a distance. Money, hear that slowly. Money does not answer the trembling wish. It answers the assumed self. A wish may tremble for years and remain only a wish. A man may want wealth with all his heart and yet continue to be inwardly poor. He may think of money from morning until night and yet never enter the state of being supplied. He may speak often of abundance and yet secretly live as one who is waiting outside the house of abundance, hoping someone will open the door. But the law does not answer the noise of wanting. It answers identity. The anxious man says, I need money. And because he feels need is impressed. He says, I hope it comes. And because he feels uncertainty is impressed. He says, I do not have enough. And because he feels insufficiency, insufficiency is impressed. He says, I must find a way. And because he feels burdened by the how, pressure is impressed. He thinks he is calling money, but he is often calling more evidence of need, more reasons to hope, more experiences of not enough, more pressure to find a way. This is why men become exhausted. They mistake intensity for faith. They think that because they want a thing strongly, they are close to having it. But often the strength of the wanting is only the strength of the sense of absence. A man who is thirsty in the desert thinks intensely of water, but the intensity of his thirst does not mean he feels himself drinking. If he carries only the feeling of thirst into the subconscious receives thirst. If he carries the feeling of having drunk deeply, of the body refreshed, of the mouth cooled, of the life restored, then he has entered the end. So, with money, the question is not, how much do you want it? The question is, who are you being in relation to it? Are you the one still reaching from absence, or the one resting in possession? Are you the one begging for relief, or the one who is already supplied? Are you the one who feels money as distant, or the one for whom wealth belongs naturally in the world? The subconscious asks only one question: who are you being? It does not ask, how badly do you need this? It does not ask, how long have you suffered? It does not ask, how many nights have you worried? It does not ask, how many words have you spoken? It asks only, who are you being? For being is the root of manifestation. Being is the invisible cause. Being is the state from which all forms arise. You do not attract wealth by needing it. You attract it by becoming the one who has it. This does not mean you pretend foolishly. It does not mean you walk about the world with empty boastfulness. It does not mean you deny responsibilities with childishness. It means that in the only place where creation truly begins, within consciousness, you stop identifying as the one who lacks and begin identifying as the one who is supplied. There is a great difference between wanting money and being supplied. Wanting money looks forward. Being supplied rests now. Wanting money says, I hope something changes. Being supplied says, the change has begun in me. Wanting money says, I am still outside the fulfilled state. Wanting money measures the world. Being supplied trusts the law. Wanting money keeps asking for a sign. Being supplied becomes the sign. Now notice the voice of anxious wanting. It is not always loud. Sometimes it is very quiet, almost respectable. It may say, I only want to be practical. It may say, I must be realistic. It may say, I cannot relax until I know how. It may say, I have to think about this constantly, because if I... But beneath these voices is a single assumption: I am not supplied. And as long as that is the identity, even cleverness may serve lack, even effort may serve lack, even prayer may serve lack, even affirmation may serve lack. A man may lie down at night and repeat, money comes to me, money comes to me, money comes to me. But if the feeling beneath it is, I hope this works because I am desperate, then desperation is wearing the words. The subconscious receives the one who is... It does not receive the beautiful sentence alone. It receives the self who is speaking it. Therefore, the secret is not to force the sentence harder. The secret is to change the self who speaks it. Assumed identity speaks differently. It does not need to shout. It says, I am supplied. It says, money belongs in my world. It says, wealth is normal to me. It says, the bridge is forming. It says these things not as a performance, but as a quiet recognition of a state entered. The words may be simple, but the identity behind them is different. They come from possession, not pursuit. They come from rest, not panic. They come from the end, not from the beginning. When a man truly says, I am supplied, something in him ceases to claw at the world. He no longer imagines money as a distant savior. He begins to feel life as friendly, provision as possible, and wealth as belonging. When he says, money belongs in my world, he is not worshipping money. He is accepting the naturalness of supply. When he says wealth is normal to me, he is removing the strangeness that has kept wealth foreign to his subconscious. When he says the bridge is forming, he releases the burden of trying to design every road. This is the movement from anxiety to identity. Anxiety asks, how will I get it? Identity says, I am the one for whom it belongs. Anxiety asks, when will it come? Identity says, the state is accepted now. Identity says, the law is already moving. Anxiety asks, what must I do? Identity says, I will be led by the state I occupy. Anxiety is always looking outward for rescue. Identity stands inwardly in the end. Desire can awaken movement, but identity gives the subconscious its command. Desire says, this is the direction. Identity says, this is who I am. Desire may stir the heart, but if the heart remains in absence, it is not enough to want to be wealthy. You must begin to feel yourself as one for whom wealth is natural. It is not enough to want money to come. You must become the one money can find without contradiction. It is not enough to want relief. You must enter the state of relief before the evidence appears. Now to the senses, this appears backward. The senses say, first money, then relief, first evidence, then faith, first change, then peace, but first assumption, then evidence, first the inner fact, then the outer reflection. The senses speak from the world of effect. Imagination speaks from the world of cause. And the man who lives only by sense will always be waiting for the shadow to move before he changes the substance. I have seen many desire intensely and receive little, and I have seen others assume quietly and watch the world move. The difference was not that one was loved by God and the other was not. One remained the anxious seeker, the other became the fulfilled one. One remained the beggar at the gate, the other entered the feast in consciousness. One wanted to be supplied, the other accepted, I am supplied. This is why I ask you tonight not to want money harder. Do not strain your desire. Do not squeeze the heart and call it faith. Do not lie awake attempting to force intensity. Desire is not made holy by tension. If you are tired, let the desire become gentle. Let it become direction rather than desperation. Let it say, I want wealth because wealth belongs to the state I am willing to enter. Let it say, I desire supply because I am leaving the state of lack. Let it say, I no longer worship money as absent, I accept money as an expression of the state of supply. You must understand something very subtle. To need money desperately often keeps money enthroned above you. It becomes the master. You become the servant. It decides whether you sleep. It decides whether you breathe easily. It decides whether tomorrow seems friendly. It decides whether you feel worthy. This is bondage. But when you enter the state of being supplied, money is dethroned. It becomes an effect. It becomes a servant of consciousness. It no longer gives you identity. It reflects identity. Then you no longer say, if money comes, I will be someone. You say, I am someone now, and money reflects the state I occupy. You no longer say, if money comes, I will be safe. You say, I am safe in consciousness, and safety must take form. You no longer say, if money comes, I will rest. You say, I rest in the end, and the bridge forms in accordance with rest. This is mastery, not mastery over money by force, but mastery over state by assumption. The world has taught man to feel poor until money appears. I teach you to feel supplied so money may appear. The world has taught man to be anxious until he has proof. I teach you to assume and let proof follow. The world has taught man to chase the form. I teach you to enter the state. The form is secondary. The state is cause. If you can receive this, the pressure begins to leave. For you do not need to solve everything before sleep. You do not need to know every channel. You do not need to hold the whole future in your little conscious mind. The conscious mind is not built to govern the bridge. It is built to choose the state. Once the state is chosen and felt, the deeper mind begins its work. The subconscious knows roads you do not know. It knows how to stir an idea, how to move a man, how to arrange an encounter, how to awaken a memory, how to bring forth a letter, how to close one path and open another. But it must be given a state, not panic. Anxiety gives it confusion. Identity gives it instruction. If tonight you fall asleep saying, I need money, with fear in the body, the subconscious receives need. If you fall asleep saying, I hope it comes, with uncertainty in the heart, the subconscious receives uncertainty. If you fall asleep saying, I do not have enough, with heaviness in the mind, the subconscious receives insufficiency. If you fall asleep saying, I must find a way, with pressure in the chest, the subconscious receives pressure. But if you fall asleep in the quiet identity, I am supplied, the subconscious receives supply. If you fall asleep feeling, money belongs in my world, it receives belonging. If you fall asleep feeling, wealth is normal to me, it receives naturalness. If you fall asleep feeling, the bridge is forming, it receives movement without strain. And what it receives, it begins to express. This is why the hour before sleep must not be wasted on anxious rehearsal. Many people go to bed and rehearse need. They rehearse lack. They rehearse tomorrow's trouble. They rehearse what might go wrong. They rehearse conversations that have not happened and bills that have not arrived. They call this thinking, but the subconscious calls it instruction. It does not say this man is only worrying. It receives the emotional picture as fact. It receives the state as a command. Tonight you will do otherwise. You will not rehearse need. You will rehearse identity. You will not rehearse I hope money comes. You will rehearse I am the one wealth finds. You will not rehearse I do not have enough. You will rehearse I am richly provided for. You will not rehearse I must find a way. You will rehearse the bridge is forming. You will not rehearse fear. You will rehearse naturalness. And when I say rehearse, I do not mean labor. I mean enter. You enter the state as an actor enters a part, but more deeply, for this is not performance before an audience. This is inward assumption before the subconscious. If an actor, after repeating and living a role, can begin to feel the mood of another character, how much more can you, who are consciousness itself, enter the state you choose? You have entered states all your life. You have entered fear. You have entered worry. You have entered rejection. You have entered lack. You know how to occupy a state. Now you must occupy deliberately. Do not say, I cannot. You have already proven that you can. Every worry is proof that you can imagine and feel something unseen. Every fear of tomorrow is proof that you can believe in an invisible future. Every anxious thought about money is proof that imagination is working. You have simply used it in the direction of lack. Now use the same power in the direction of supply. This is a tender turning. It need not be violent. If anxious desire rises in you, do not hate it. It is only the old self asking to remain alive. It says, but we need money. We must worry. We must think. We must control. We must plan every possibility. You may answer gently, no, need is not my identity. Worry is not my prayer. Fear is not my guide. I enter the state of supply. I let the law work. The old self may continue to whisper for a time. Let it whisper. You do not need to argue with every echo. An echo fades when you stop speaking into the canyon. Stop giving the old identity new sound. Stop saying, I am the one who lacks. Stop saying, I am the one who waits. Stop saying, I am the one abandoned by money. Speak inwardly from the new identity and let the echo of the old grow weaker. I am supplied. Money belongs in my world. Wealth is normal to me. The bridge is forming. Do you notice how these phrases do not beg? They do not ask. They do not tremble. They do not require the senses to agree before they are spoken. They are statements of state. They are declarations of identity, and if they are spoken with even a small measure of relief, a small measure of acceptance, a small measure of naturalness, they begin to train the subconscious in a new direction. The anxious wish is always unstable because it depends upon the world. If the world gives a sign, it rises. If the world delays, it collapses. If a small sum arrives, it believes for a moment. If another obligation appears, it despairs. It is tossed about by every appearance, but assumed identity is different. It stands in the unseen and lets the seen rearrange. It does not deny appearances in panic. It simply refuses to let them define the self. If the account looks the same, the assumed self says, this is old reflection. I remain supplied. If tomorrow seems uncertain, the assumed self says, the bridge is forming. If the mind asks how, the assumed self says, the end contains the means. If fear says, nothing is happening, the assumed self says, the law works in silence. This is not stubbornness, this is faithfulness to the state. And faithfulness to the state is what men call persistence. It is not trying harder, it is remaining who you have decided to be. If you decide tonight that you are supplied, then persistence means returning to supplied whenever the old self tries to reclaim the throne. If you decide that wealth is normal to you, persistence means refusing to make wealth strange again. If you decide that money belongs in your world, persistence means you no longer speak inwardly as though money were a foreign visitor. You remain in the identity until it becomes natural. Naturalness is important. The subconscious does not resist what feels natural. It does not argue with what you have accepted as ordinary. The poor state became natural to many because it was repeated, felt, assumed, and carried into sleep. The wealthy state can become natural in the same way. At first it may feel like a garment newly placed upon the body, but if you wear it gently, night after night, it begins to fit. Then you no longer say, I am trying to feel supplied. You simply feel supplied. And when a state becomes natural, it must express, Now, let us bring this to the night, because this video is not for daytime excitement. It is for the deep hour when the subconscious is near. If you are listening now with the intention of sleep, then understand that you are not merely hearing ideas, you are being invited to enter a new identity as the mind grows quiet. Let the words become slower inside you. Let them move beneath thought. You do not need to grasp everything intellectually. You need only let the state begin to form. The anxious one says, I need money. Let that dissolve. The assumed self says, I am supplied. The anxious one says, I hope it comes. Let that dissolve. The assumed self says, money belongs in my world. The anxious one says, I do not have enough. Let that dissolve. The assumed self says, wealth is normal to me. The anxious one says, I must find a way. Let that dissolve. The assumed self says, the bridge is forming. Feel the difference. One is tense, the other is restful. One reaches, the other receives. One is outside the door, the other is within the house. One worships the absence, the other accepts the presence, and the subconscious receives the one you are being. The subconscious asks only one question. Who are you being? Not what are you fearing? Not what are you explaining? Not what are you trying to prove? Who are you being? If you are being the one who lacks, lack is impressed. If you are being the one who is supplied, supply is impressed. If you are being the one who waits, waiting is impressed. If you are being the one who has entered, fulfillment is impressed. So tonight, do not try to want money harder. Wanting harder will not open the code. Becoming will. Become the one wealth belongs to. Become the one who can sleep without begging. Become the one who can rest before the evidence. Become the one who knows that money is not the cause of safety, but one of the forms safety may take. Become the one who lets wealth feel normal in the body before it is counted in the hand. This becoming is inward. It can begin in a single breath. It can begin when you stop saying, I need, and begin feeling, I have. It can begin when you stop asking, where is it, and begin accepting, it is forming. It can begin when you stop demanding proof and begin giving the subconscious a state worthy of expression. Do not underestimate a quiet shift. The world worships dramatic effort, but the law works through inner acceptance. A slight change in identity is greater than hours of anxious labor. A single moment of feeling supplied before sleep may impress the subconscious more deeply than a whole day spent struggling from lack. For the subconscious does not count your effort, it receives your state. Let this bring you rest. You are not behind because you are quiet. You are not failing because you are resting. You are not doing nothing when you assume. You are changing the cause, and when the cause changes, the effect must follow. Now let the identity become simple. I am supplied, not because the senses have reported it, but because I choose the state. Money belongs in my world, not because I chase it, but because consciousness gives it a place. Wealth is normal to me, not because I worship wealth, but because supply is natural to my being. The bridge is forming, not because I know how, but because the subconscious, once impressed, externalizes the state. There is no need to strain after these words. Let them fall gently, one by one, into the deeper mind. Let them become the tone of the night. Let them replace the old anxious wanting. Let them remove the pressure to need harder. Think harder, fear harder, seek harder. You are finished with that old way. It has only kept you circling the same state. Tonight you become supplied. You become safe. You become the one wealth finds. You become the one to whom money is not strange. You become the one who does not chase the form because he has entered the state. And as you become inwardly, the law receives you. The subconscious receives the new identity. It begins its silent work. It begins to arrange, to attract, to reveal, to move. You do not need to watch it anxiously. You do not need to supervise the unseen. You only need to remain faithful to the self you have assumed. Money does not answer the trembling wish. It answers the assumed self. You do not attract wealth by needing it. You attract it by becoming the one who has it. The subconscious asks only one question. Who are you being? And tonight, softly, deliberately, without strain, your answer is changing. Now we come to the threshold itself, the quiet border, where the code enters the deep. I have spoken to you of I am. I have spoken to you of identity. I have spoken to you of the state that money answers. But now I must show you where this state is most easily impressed, where the conscious mind no longer stands so proudly with its arguments, where the senses lose their authority and the subconscious becomes open, fertile, and obedient. There is a moment before sleep that most men pass through without reverence. They pass through it every night, and yet they do not know what they are touching. The body begins to grow heavy. The hands no longer wish to move. The face softens. The eyes, even if closed already, seem to turn away from the outer world. Sounds may still be present, but they feel farther away, as though they belong to another room, another world, another life. Thoughts continue for a while, but they lose their sharp edges. They begin to drift. They no longer stand in straight lines. Images rise and fade. Memory and imagination begin to mingle. You are not fully awake, and yet you are not asleep. You are at the border. The borderland of sleep is the doorway of the subconscious. This doorway is entered by every man, rich or poor, fearful or faithful, conscious or unconscious. No one is denied it. The beggar enters it. The king enters it. The anxious man enters it. The peaceful man enters it. And what each one carries through that doorway becomes an instruction to the deep. This is why the last state of the night is so important. It is not because the night has magic in the childish sense. It is because the conscious guard relaxes, and the subconscious receives more easily what is felt as true. In the day, reason speaks loudly. It asks for proof. It calls upon memory. It measures everything by what has already happened. It says, be careful, be practical, look at the facts, remember yesterday, prepare for difficulty, and if you let it, reason becomes a guard standing at the gate of the deeper mind, refusing entrance to every assumption that the senses have not yet confirmed. It says you cannot feel supplied because you do not see supply. You cannot feel wealthy because you do not hold wealth. You cannot rest because the matter is not solved. Reason, when enslaved to the senses, demands the shadow before it will permit the substance. But as sleep approaches, this guard grows tired. The argument weakens, the senses fade, the body withdraws its attention from the outer world. The mind becomes impressionable, and in that softness, an assumption that may have seemed difficult in the full noise of day can enter gently, naturally, without resistance. This is the state akin to sleep. It is not yet sleep, and it is not ordinary waking. It is the creative twilight, the hush before the seed enters the soil. Many think they must force themselves into this state. They lie down and try to make sleep come. They command the body to be still, the mind to be quiet, the heart to believe. They become tense in the name of relaxation. They try to conquer drowsiness, as though sleep were an enemy to be subdued. But sleep is not conquered. Sleep is allowed. You cannot force a flower to open by pulling at its petals. You cannot force the evening to become night by commanding the sun. You allow the natural order to move, and you meet it in the right state. So tonight, do not try to wrestle yourself into sleep. Do not say, I must become drowsy now. Do not turn this into another task, another labor, another burden placed upon the tired mind. Simply become willing. Let the body grow heavy in its own time. Let the breath become quieter in its own rhythm. Let the senses fade without your managing them. Let thought pass without chasing it. Sleep comes when resistance softens, and the code enters best when the mind stops arguing. This is why I teach you to feel the end before sleep, not to strain after the end. There is a world of difference. Straining says, I do not have it, but I am trying to make it come. Feeling says, I enter the state in which it is already true. Straining belongs to the conscious mind, always pushing, always measuring, always demanding results. Feeling belongs to the deeper act. It moves silently. It does not argue. It accepts. The code is sealed when the body rests and the feeling becomes real. Let that phrase remain with you. The code is sealed when the body rests and the feeling becomes real. Not when the words are shouted, not when you repeat until exhausted, not when you force yourself to imagine 1,000 details, but when the body rests, when the senses loosen, when the feeling becomes real enough to enter as fact. Then the subconscious receives it. If you are lying in bed and the body is still tense, do not condemn yourself. Simply let the tension be noticed. You do not need to fight it. Notice the jaw, notice the shoulders, notice the hands, notice the chest, notice the stomach. The body has carried the day. It has carried thoughts, duties, old reactions, small fears, and the weight of trying to manage life by conscious effort. Let it be relieved of command. Let it know it need not hold the world together tonight. The body is not the creator, consciousness is. The body may rest. As the body begins to rest, the senses begin to withdraw. You may still know the room, you may still hear a faint sound, you may still feel the bed beneath you, the air around you, the quiet presence of night. But you no longer need to serve these impressions. Let them be. The outer world may remain where it is. You are not required to fix it in this moment. You are turning toward cause. You are approaching the inner chamber. This is the mercy of the state, akin to sleep. It allows you to enter a state without wrestling with all the facts of day. When the eyes are fully open and the world is loud, money may appear to be outside you, separate from you, governed by visible channels alone. But as sleep nears, the visible loosens its grip. The world of effect becomes dim, and in that dimness, you may feel the invisible more clearly. You may feel the state of being supplied without needing the senses to report it first. You may feel wealth as a mood, as an atmosphere, as a quiet fact within, before it has taken outer form. What you accept at the edge of sleep descends into the creative deep. The creative deep is not a place in space. It is not beneath the earth, nor above the sky. It is the subconscious depth of your own being, the unseen womb of all that later appears. What descends there with feeling begins to take form. The subconscious does not ask whether the assumption was reasonable. It does not ask whether men would agree. It does not ask whether the account was large or small, whether the way was visible or hidden. It receives the feeling as fact and begins to externalize the state according to its own wisdom. This is why you must be tender with the edge of sleep. Do not carry there the old account of lack. Do not carry there the fear of tomorrow, as though fear were a prayer. Do not carry there the image of yourself as helpless. Do not carry there the sentence, I do not know what to do, as your final identity. You may have thought such things in the day, but the night is not asking you to continue them. The night is offering you a doorway, and at the doorway you may choose. You may choose, I am supplied. You may choose, I am safe. You may choose, money belongs in my world. You may choose, wealth is normal to me. You may choose, the bridge is forming. You may choose, the law works while I rest. These are not merely words to decorate sleep. They are states to be carried into it. If they remain only words, let them be repeated gently until feeling begins to answer. If the feeling is small, do not despise it. A small feeling accepted is more powerful than a loud statement resisted. A small release in the body may be the beginning of a new state. A small breath of relief may be the first sign that the old identity is loosening. Do not demand thunder. The law often begins in silence. I have said that imagination creates reality, but many misunderstand and think they must build a whole world in the mind, with every detail fixed and every step arranged. No, at the edge of sleep, simplicity is stronger. Choose the end. Feel the state. Let the feeling be natural. Let it be enough. If wealth were already natural to you, would you lie awake in panic? If money were already moving in your world, would you hold tomorrow like a threat? If you were already supplied, would you beg the night for rescue? No, you would rest. You would feel a quiet ease. You would breathe as one who is not abandoned. That breath is part of the code. That ease is part of the code. That quiet state is more valuable than 100 strained images. For the subconscious receives the total atmosphere of you. It receives the mood, the acceptance, the inner position. It receives who you are being as you fall asleep. Now if thoughts come, and they will, do not be troubled. The mind has been trained to chatter. It has been trained to solve, compare, predict, remember, and warn. Let it speak for a moment if it must, but do not follow every thought as though it were a command. A thought passing is not a seed unless you give it feeling and consent. Let the thought pass. Return to the feeling. Return to the chosen state. Return to I am supplied. Let that be enough. I am safe. Let that settle. I am provided for. Let the body hear it. The bridge is forming. Let the mind stop designing it. Wealth is normal to me. Let the subconscious become familiar with it. You see, the conscious mind wants to know how. It wants to remain awake until it has solved everything. It says, if I sleep, who will guard my affairs? If I stop thinking, who will arrange the way? If I let go, what will become of me? But this is the old belief that conscious anxiety is protection. It is not protection. Anxiety is imagination moving in the direction of fear. The deeper power does not need anxiety to help it. The subconscious does not require your worry as a guide. It requires a state. So let sleep come as trust, not forced trust, not theatrical trust, but the simple willingness to release the how. There is a wisdom deeper than your waking calculation. There is a movement in consciousness that knows how to clothe a state in outer form. You do not need to hold all channels open with fear. You do not need to keep watch over every possible road. If the state is accepted, the road will be arranged. The bridge belongs to the assumption. The state akin to sleep is sacred, because it is the moment when you may cease from the outer argument. You may say to the senses, "You have spoken all day, but now I turn inward." You may say to reason, "You have done your measuring, but now I enter the end." You may say to fear, "You have repeated yourself long enough, but tonight I carry another state into the deep." You need not say this aloud. Let it be a quiet inner movement, a withdrawing of attention from what is old, and a placing of attention upon what is chosen. In this borderland, the desired state should not be held as something far away. Do not imagine wealth as distant. Do not imagine money coming from some unknown future while you remain here as the one without it. That keeps separation alive. Instead, feel the atmosphere of already being supplied. Feel that money belongs in your world. Feel that provision is not extraordinary, but natural. Feel that wealth is not a stranger standing outside your door, but an accepted resident of your inner house. Naturalness is the sign that resistance is dissolving. At first, a new state may feel unusual. That is only because you have lived in another one. Do not be disturbed. Continue gently. Let the phrase be soft. Let the feeling be simple. Let sleep help you. The deeper you move toward sleep, the less the mind argues, and the more easily the new state may be worn. This is why the night is kind to assumption. It gives you a passage where the old reasoning grows quiet. If you cannot feel great wealth tonight, feel relief. If you cannot feel abundance fully, feel safety. If you cannot feel rich, feel supplied. If you cannot feel supplied, feel that you are being guided toward supply. Begin where the feeling can become real. The subconscious is impressed not by exaggeration, but by acceptance. A phrase too far from feeling may awaken conflict. A phrase close enough to produce relief can enter, and once relief enters, it can grow. So perhaps the phrase tonight is simply, "Everything is taken care of." If that allows the chest to loosen, use it. Perhaps it is, "I am supplied." If that awakens dignity, use it. Perhaps it is, "Money moves toward me." If that feels natural, perhaps it is, "Wealth is normal to me." If that softens the old strangeness around money, use it. The words are not the point. The state they awaken is the point. At the edge of sleep, you are not trying to impress men. You are not trying to speak beautifully. You are not trying to perform faith. You are allowing one living feeling to descend. That is all. One feeling accepted, one state entered, one identity worn. Then sleep takes it deeper than the conscious mind can go. This is why falling asleep in the end is so powerful. In the day, you may enter a state and then be interrupted by appearances. A voice may call, a duty may arise, a fact may demand attention. But when you enter a state at night and fall asleep in it, there is no immediate outer contradiction. Sleep receives you. The body is still. The senses are inactive. The subconscious carries the state beneath the surface. It is like sealing a letter and placing it into the hands of a messenger who travels while you rest. Let the messenger travel. Do not take the letter back. Do not reopen it every few moments to see whether it was written correctly. Let the state descend. Let the code enter the deep. Let sleep do what waking effort cannot do. You may think, "But what if I fall asleep before I finish the phrase?" That is good. Do not fear it. If you fall asleep in the mood, the work is done. The subconscious receives the state, not the completed ritual. If you drift away while feeling supplied, you have given the deep mind the instruction. If you fall asleep on the edge of relief, relief has entered. If the last remembered feeling is safety, safety has been planted. Do not turn this into perfectionism. Perfectionism is another form of anxiety. There is no need to count. There is no need to control the exact moment of sleep. There is no need to fear that you did not do it correctly. The law is not fragile. It is your state that matters. Return gently, again and again, to the feeling you choose. If sleep comes, let it come. If you remain awake a little longer, continue softly. No force, no strain, no self-condemnation. The code enters best when the mind stops arguing, and if the mind says, "This is too easy," let it say so. The mind has been trained to worship difficulty. It thinks that what is simple cannot be powerful, but all great laws are simple: seed and harvest, assumption and expression, I am and the world made visible. The rising of the sun is simple to behold, though immense in order. The beating of the heart is simple to experience, though mysterious in depth. Sleep itself is simple. You surrender, and it comes. So also with assumption. You enter, you feel, you accept, you sleep. The deep receives. Now let us make the state akin to sleep very plain. It is not a trance you must struggle to achieve. It is not a strange condition reserved for a few. It is the natural drowsiness every man knows. It is that soft moment when you could still choose a thought, but the thought begins to take on the tones of dream. It is the moment when imagination feels more real than effort. It is the moment when the body is almost forgotten. It is the moment when a sentence can become a mood, and a mood can become an assumption, and an assumption can become the seed of tomorrow. Enter that moment consciously, not tensely, consciously. There is a difference. Tension tries to control. Consciousness simply observes and chooses. Observe the body growing heavy. Choose the state. Observe the breath softening. Choose the feeling. Observe the senses fading. Choose the assumption. Observe reason becoming quiet. Let the code sink. Observe the mind releasing the day. Let the subconscious receive the new identity. I am supplied. Money belongs in my world. Wealth is normal to me. The bridge is forming. The law works while I rest. Let these phrases become slower inside you. Leave space around them. Let them fall, as seeds fall without noise. A seed does not strike the earth like a hammer. It enters quietly. It disappears from sight. Then, in the unseen, it begins. Your assumption may disappear into sleep in the same way. Do not mourn its disappearance. That is where it works. The conscious mind wants to see the seed. It wants to dig into the soil and examine it. But the creative deep works in darkness. The womb is dark. The earth is dark, sleep is dark. These are not signs of absence, they are signs of formation. Much is formed where the eye cannot see. Let the unseen become trustworthy to you. What you accept at the edge of sleep descends into the creative deep. Therefore, accept wisely, accept supply, accept safety, accept the naturalness of wealth, accept that money can move without your fear, accept that the bridge can form without your anxious supervision. Accept that you are not outside the law. Accept that your own I am is the entrance. Accept, and now, as the night continues, let the idea of force become unnecessary. You do not need to force sleep. You do not need to force wealth. You do not need to force belief. You need to allow the right state to become your final companion before sleep. That is all. The state is the key. Sleep is the doorway. The subconscious is the deep. The law is the movement. If you feel only a little relief, rest in the little relief. If you feel only a little supply, rest in the little supply. Do not despise small beginnings. The smallest accepted state is greater than the largest anxious desire. A single real feeling can enter deeper than 1,000 forced declarations. Let it be real, even if it is gentle. Let it be yours, even if it is quiet. The body grows heavy. The senses fade. Reason quiets. The conscious guard relaxes. The subconscious becomes receptive. I am names the state. Feeling gives it life. Naturalness makes it welcome. Sleep carries it below. The subconscious receives. The world begins to answer. This is why you need not fear the coming of sleep. Sleep is not taking you away from your desire. Sleep is carrying your accepted desire into the deep. It is not interruption. It is transmission. It is not loss of control. It is surrender to the lawful movement of consciousness. You have controlled enough with the conscious mind. Now let the deeper power receive. So as you approach that border, do not cling to the old questions. Where will it come from? When will it happen? What if it does not? How shall I manage? These questions keep the guard awake. They keep the mind arguing at the gate. Let them go. Replace them with the state. I am supplied. It is already provided. Money moves toward my state. Wealth is normal to me. Everything is being arranged. The bridge is forming. And if sleep begins to take you, let it. Let the phrase become softer. Let the feeling become more important than the words. Let the words dissolve into the mood. Let the mood dissolve into sleep. That is good. That is the doorway opening. That is the code entering the deep. You do not need to force this. You do not need to conquer sleep. You do not need to overpower the mind. You only need to enter sleep with the right state. The borderland of sleep is the doorway of the sub. The code is sealed when the body rests and the feeling becomes real. What you accept at the edge of sleep descends into the creative deep. And tonight, gently, quietly, lawfully, you are learning to accept wealth before sleep, not as something distant to chase, but as a state soft enough, natural enough, and real enough to be received by the subconscious while you rest. Now that we have come this far into the night, let me make the code so simple that the mind can rest it. For what is truly powerful need not be complicated. The anxious mind complicates everything because it believes complexity is protection. It says, give me more steps, more explanations, more conditions, more signs, more methods, more proofs. But law does not need adornment. Law is clear. Law is quiet. Law is exact. And when you understand the order of it, you will cease trying to force wealth through the little gate of fear. They are not mechanical parts, as though you were assembling a machine. They are living movements in consciousness. They are I am, feeling, naturalness, and sleep. These four are enough. If you understand them, you understand the inner order by which wealth is impressed upon the subconscious and brought into expression. I am gives direction. Feeling gives life. Naturalness removes resistance. Sleep plants it beneath the surface. I am names the state. Feeling gives the naturalness tells the subconscious it belongs. Sleep carries the command into the deep. Let these four statements become clear within you, not sharply, not intellectually only, but softly, as something you can carry with you into rest. I am names the state. Feeling gives the state life. Naturalness tells the subconscious it belongs. Sleep carries the command into the deep. This is the code in its simplest form. This is the order behind the outer movement of money. This is why you do not need to strain. You need to enter. First, I am names the state. Nothing begins for you until it is named in consciousness. A man may see the world and think the world names him, but it is not so. He names himself inwardly, and the world repeats the name back to him. He says, I am poor, and then he finds witnesses for poverty. He says, I am struggling, and then the world seems to bring him struggle. He says, I am late, I am behind, I am afraid, and the world appears to confirm the state he has accepted. But the confirmation came after the naming. The outer world is an echo. The inner name is the sound. Therefore, the first part of the code is not money. It is not a sum. It is not a channel. It is not another person. It is not the market, nor an employer, nor chance, nor inheritance, nor effort. The first part of the code is, what identity do you wear when you are alone? What name do you carry into the night? Are you the one waiting for money, or the one supplied? Are you the one fearing tomorrow, or the one supported by the law? Are you the one trying to become wealthy, or the one who has accepted wealth as natural in consciousness? This is where the whole movement begins. I am supplied. I am safe. I am richly provided for. I am the one wealth finds. I am living in abundance now. These are not merely sentences. They are directions given to the deep. They are names placed upon consciousness. If you name yourself lack, lack knows where to gather. If you name yourself supply, supply knows where to gather. If you name yourself fear, fear finds forms. If you name yourself wealth, wealth begins to seek expression. Do not think this is small. There is nothing small about I am. It is the first line of creation. It is the hidden throne from which the world does not ask you, what do you want to have? It asks, who are you being? And the answer is always carried by I am. If you answer, I am without, the world will continue to show you the feeling of without. If you answer, I am supplied, and you feel it, the world must begin to rearrange itself toward supply. But I am alone, as a sound, is not enough if feeling does not animate it. This brings us to the second part of the feeling is the breath placed into the name. Feeling is the living warmth that makes the seed fertile. Words without feeling are like seeds drawn on paper. They may have the shape of life, but they cannot grow. A man may write the word tree 1,000 times, but no branches will rise from the page. A true seed must be alive. So it is with your assumption. The phrase may be correct, but if there is no feeling of reality within it, it remains outside the subconscious as a thought. When you say, I am supplied, the question is not whether the words are beautiful. The question is whether they awaken the mood of supply. Does the body soften even slightly? Does the breath become easier? Does the future seem less hostile? Does the heart release the sense of being abandoned? Does the inner man stand a little straighter? If so, feeling has begun to give the state life. You do not need dramatic emotion. In fact, dramatic emotion is often unstable. The feeling I speak of is the feeling of reality, the quiet acceptance that this is so. Feeling is not excitement. Feeling is not forcing yourself to be cheerful. Feeling is not making noise in the mind. Feeling is the inward sense that the state is true. If wealth were already natural to you, how would you feel? Perhaps not ecstatic, perhaps simply calm, perhaps relieved, perhaps safe, perhaps ordinary. Perhaps you would not be thinking of money at all, because money would have ceased to be an enemy. That quietness is feeling, that relief is feeling, that absence of fear is feeling, that natural breath is feeling. The state must be felt, for the subconscious receives feeling as fact. It does not receive a cold statement as deeply as a felt reality. It does not receive a sentence merely because it was repeated. It receives the atmosphere behind the sentence. The words may say, I am wealthy, but if the atmosphere says, I am afraid, the atmosphere is the command. The words may say, I am supplied, but if the feeling says, nothing comes to me, the feeling is the seed. Therefore, do not be concerned with many words. Be concerned with living feeling. If one phrase brings relief, use it. If one word brings quiet conviction, use it. If the simple word supplied opens something in you, let that word be. It needs impression, and impression is made by feeling. When the feeling becomes real, the seed is alive. When the seed is alive, growth begins. Now, the third part of the code is naturalness. Naturalness tells the subconscious it belongs. This is one of the most important secrets in all manifestation. A thing may be desired, but if it feels strange, distant, impossible, or foreign, the subconscious has not yet accepted it as yours. It may be admired, imagined, and longed for, but it is still felt as something outside the house. Naturalness is the moment the desire comes home. Think of a garment that is new. At first you feel it, you notice it. It does not yet move with you, but after you have worn it, it becomes part of your ordinary experience. You no longer think, I am wearing this garment. You simply wear it. So it is with a state. At first, I am supplied. Money belongs in my world may feel like a sentence from another life. But if you return to it gently, if you feel it before sleep, if you let it become an atmosphere rather than an effort, it begins to lose its strangeness. It becomes natural. When wealth becomes natural within, the subconscious no longer resists it. It does not say, this is unusual. It does not say, this is too large. It does not say, this is too large. It does not say, this is... What feels natural to you is no longer kept at a distance. It has been accepted as part of your world. This is why I tell you not to make wealth spectacular in imagination. If you make it too theatrical, too far, too grand, in a way that awakens disbelief, you may keep it foreign. It becomes a wonder rather than a state. But wealth in its true spiritual sense is not noise, it is order. It is sufficiency, it is peace. It is the naturalness of being supported. If you can make that natural before sleep, the subconscious has received far more than a dramatic picture it does not accept. Naturalness removes resistance. When a man says, of course, inwardly, the struggle begins to end. Of course I am supplied. Of course money can move. Of course the bridge is forming. Of course life has ways I do not see. Of course wealth belongs in my world. That little inward of course is powerful. It is the sound of resistance falling away. It is the sign that the state is no longer being treated as a stranger. Many people think they must feel intense belief, but the deeper sign is naturalness. You do not feel intense belief that your name is your name. You simply know it. You do not labor to believe that the floor is beneath you. You accept it. You do not become excited each morning because the sun has risen. It is natural. And when wealth begins to feel natural in consciousness, it no longer needs to be chased. It belongs. And what belongs in consciousness seeks form in experience. The fourth part of the code is sleep. Sleep carries the command into the deep. I have said this many times because it is of great importance. The last state before sleep is not a small matter. It is the state you deliver to the subconscious when the conscious guard is weakest. It is the seed placed into dark soil. It is the instruction sealed in the depths. In sleep you cease striving. In sleep the senses withdraw. In sleep the world of appearances loses its hold. And the state accepted before sleep descends beneath the surface, where formation begins. Sleep is the gate, not because sleep is an escape, but because sleep allows the accepted state to pass beyond argument. During the day, the mind may rise and say, yes, but look at this, look at that. But as sleep comes, those voices grow dim. You need not defeat them with force. You simply enter the state and let sleep take it down. Sleep plants it beneath the surface. Do not fear that you must remain awake long enough to perfect it. If you fall asleep feeling supplied, the command has entered. If you drift away while the phrase, I am provided for, is alive in you, it has entered. If the last mood is relief, relief has entered. If the final sense is, money belongs in my world, then that state has been carried into the deep. The subconscious does not require a ceremony. It requires acceptance. So the four parts are not difficult. I am gives direction. Feeling gives life. Naturalness removes resistance. Sleep plants it beneath the surface. This is why the process is quiet. It is not loud enough for the anxious mind, perhaps, but it is powerful enough to change the world. It is the same principle by which every state has been expressed in your life, even before you knew it. The only difference now is that you are becoming deliberate. Before you may have said, I am struggling, and felt the struggle. It became natural because you repeated it. Then you carried it into sleep, and the subconscious, faithful as ever, expressed it. Do you see? Even the old life followed the code. I am named the state. Feeling gave it life. Naturalness made it. Sleep carried it into the deep. The world reflected it. You were never outside the law. You were only using the law unconsciously. Now you will use it consciously. I am supplied. Feel the relief of it. Let it become natural. Carry it into sleep. I am financially safe. Feel the safety of it. Let it become natural. Carry it into sleep. I am richly provided for. Feel provision as a settled fact. Let it become natural. Carry it into sleep. This is the whole movement. It is simple, but do not mistake simplicity for weakness. The anxious mind wants something harder because it trusts effort more than law. It wants to earn the result through strain. It wants to prove its devotion by exhaustion. But the subconscious is not impressed by exhaustion. It is impressed by acceptance. And acceptance, when properly understood, is quiet power. The seed does not strain to. It accepts its own nature and grows according to law. The earth does not argue with the seed, it receives it. Sleep is your earth. Feeling is the life in the seed. I am is the kind of seed. Naturalness is the seed belonging to the soil. And the subconscious, once it receives, begins the work you could never perform by conscious strain. This is why I ask you to stop making money the great exception. Men accept that mood affects conduct. They accept that expectation. They accept that fear can cloud judgment and confidence can open expression. But when it comes to money, they suddenly imagine money is outside the law. It is not. Money is an effect in the world of forms. It moves through channels. Yes, but the channels are not the source. Consciousness is the source. State is the cause. I am is the direction. Feeling is the life. Naturalness is the acceptance. Sleep is the gate. If you understand this, then money it becomes something that answers state. You do not worship it. You do not fear it. You do not beg it. You do not make it the cause of your peace. You enter peace and money begins to conform to the state that contains peace. You enter supply and money begins to find ways into the world of supply. You enter natural wealth and wealth begins to lose its distance. Let us take the phrase, wealth is normal to me. If you only say it with the lips, it is a phrase. But if you understand the code, you know what to do. First, I am names the state. I am one to whom wealth is normal. Then feeling gives it life. You let yourself feel what it would be like if money were not a threat, if provision were ordinary, if financial ease belonged in your world. Then naturalness removes resistance. You let it become not amazing, not shocking, not far, but normal. Then sleep carries the command into the deep. You drift in that. This is all. And because it is all, the mind may try to complicate it. It may ask, but what about the exact words? What about the precise scene? What about the number of repetitions? What about tomorrow? What about the means? These questions may arise, but they are not the code. They are the anxious mind seeking to regain control. Return to simplicity. I am feeling, naturalness. Sleep again and again. Return to the four. I am. Naturalness tells the subconscious it belongs. Sleep carries the command into the deep. If you remember only this, you can practice the law. If you forget many details, but keep this order, you can enter the state. The words may change, the phrase may change, the desire may change, but the order remains. Love, health, wealth, freedom, peace, all follow the same inner movement. I am determines identity. Identity, sleep carries it down. The world reflects the assumption. Now, as this is a sleep recording, let this framework become softer. Do not hold it like a lesson to memorize. Hold it like a rhythm. I am feeling. Naturalness. Sleep. I am feeling. Naturalness. Sleep. It is almost like the breathing of creation. The name, the life, the acceptance, the planting. The name, the life, the acceptance, the planting. I feel safe. Let safety become natural. Sleep in safety. I am wealthy in consciousness. Feel wealth as relief. Let wealth become natural. Sleep in wealth. Do you see how gentle it is? No strain, no violence, no wrestling with the world. You are not trying to grab money from the outside. You are allowing your own subconscious to receive the state that corresponds to wealth. You are not trying to force a door open. You are bringing the key that belongs. The night receives the state, and the deep begins its work. If doubt comes, return to the first part. I am names the state. Do not name yourself doubtful. Name yourself supplied. If numbness comes, return to the second part. Feeling gives the state life. Find the smallest feeling of relief and let it live. If the state feels strange, return to the third part. Naturalness tells the subconscious it belongs. Make wealth ordinary. Make supply familiar. To the Spartan, if the mind continues to argue, return to the fourth part. Sleep carries the command into the deep. Let the argument fade as sleep comes. The code is not something you force through tension. It is something you allow through order. It is the order of your own being. You have I am. You can feel. You can let a state become natural. You can sleep. Therefore, the code is available to you tonight. You do not need permission from the outer world. You do not need to wait until you feel perfect. Begin gently. Begin now. A faint feeling of supply is enough if accepted. A quiet I am is enough if believed. A small naturalness is enough if repeated. A single sleep entered from the right state is enough to begin the movement. Do not despise the quiet beginnings of law. All visible harvest begins invisibly. Now let the framework descend into you. I am gives direction. Feeling gives sleep plants it beneath the surface. This is why tonight is important. Not because you must do something difficult, but because you are entering the simplest creative order. If you have spent years naming yourself lack, you can begin naming yourself supply. If you have given life to fear, you can give life to relief. If poverty has felt natural, wealth can become natural. If sleep has carried worry into the deep, sleep can now carry provision. Nothing outside you needs to change before this begins. The beginning is within. The beginning is the state. The beginning is I am. So rest in the simplicity, let it comfort you. Let the anxious mind no longer demand a maze when the door is before you. The code is simple, it is quiet, it is powerful. I am names the state. Feeling gives the state life. Naturalness tells the subconscious it belongs. Sleep carries the command into the deep. And tonight, now we must come to a point that will save you from superstition, and it must be understood before you go any deeper into this practice. The phrase is not the power. The feeling is the power. The phrase may help you. It may guide you. It may open a door. It may gather the wandering mind and lead it toward the state you desire to occupy. But the phrase itself, as sound alone, as words alone, as repetition alone, is not creative unless it awakens within you the feeling of. Men love words because words seem easier than transformation. They believe that if they can discover the right sentence, the right arrangement, the right hidden expression, then life must change while they remain inwardly unchanged. But the law does not respond to words as men respond to words. The subconscious does not admire eloquence. It does not count phrases. It does not say, this man has repeated the sentence 100 times, therefore I must obey. The subconscious receives the feeling, wearing the words. This is why one man may say, I am rich, 1,000 times and remain in fear, while another may whisper, it is done once, and enter the state of completion. The difference is not in the outward number of words. The difference is in the inward reality. One speaks from absence, trying to persuade himself. The other speaks from acceptance, as one recognizing what is already true in consciousness. The other uses the phrase as a door into the fulfilled state. A phrase without feeling is a seed without life. You may hold it carefully. You may plant it in what seems to be the right hour. You may repeat the ritual. You may wait over it anxiously. But if there is no life in it, no feeling of reality, no inward acceptance, then nothing living has been planted. It is only the form of a seed, and many have filled their nights with the form of prayer, while never entering the life of prayer. They have spoken wealth while feeling lack. They have spoken health while feeling disease. They have spoken love while feeling abandonment. And then they have thought the law failed them. But the law did not fail. The feeling was different from the phrase, and the feeling was the command. You may say, I am rich, while feeling fear. What does the subconscious receive? It receives fear. It receives the trembling self. It receives the one who is trying to escape poverty, not the one who has entered wealth. You may say, money comes to me while feeling absence. What does the subconscious receive? It receives absence. It receives waiting. It receives the state of looking toward a thing as though it is not here. You may say, I am abundant, while feeling unworthy. What does the subconscious receive? It receives unworthiness. It receives the inner confession, this is not mine. And then life, faithful to the state, mirrors what was actually accepted. The subconscious is not deceived by the lips. It does not listen as another person listens. Another person may hear your words and believe them. The subconscious hears the condition of your being. It hears the mood beneath the sentence. It hears the conviction hidden in the heart. It hears whether you are standing within the state or outside it, knocking. And therefore, if you would use a phrase before sleep, you must not worship the phrase. You must let it carry you into feeling. The words are the cup. Feeling is the living water. A cup may be beautiful, but if it is empty, it cannot satisfy thirst. A sentence may be correct, but if it carries no feeling of fulfillment, it cannot impress the deep. Do not become attached to the cup and forget the water. Do not become attached to the phrase and forget the state. The purpose of the phrase is to hold the feeling long enough for you to drink from it. When the feeling comes, the phrase has served its purpose. This is why I often say that the shortest words may be the most powerful. Not because short words possess magic, but because they leave less room for argument. A long sentence often invites the mind to inspect it, judge it, doubt it, and debate it. A simple phrase can sink. I am supplied. It is done. Everything is taken care of. Wealth is normal to me. Money moves toward me. These are not powerful because of the syllables. They are powerful when they produce the feeling of the end. If they do not produce the feeling, choose another. The phrase is a servant, not a master. Let us take the phrase, I am supplied. If you speak it as a man begging for supply, it has not entered you. If you speak it while secretly saying, I hope this makes money come, you are still in the state of trying to get. But if you speak it and then pause, letting the meaning descend, letting the body soften, letting the sense of being supported become faintly real, then the phrase becomes alive. It is no longer a sound, it is a bridge into identity. I am supplied. Not I will be, not I hope to be, not I am trying to become. I am supplied. If that state touches you, the phrase is living. Let us take another phrase. Money moves toward me. If you say it while feeling that money is far away and you strain to pull it to you, you have not entered the state. You have merely described the distance. But if you say, money moves toward me, and you feel the naturalness of life arranging itself, if you feel that money is not hostile, not absent, not locked away, but able to move through many unseen channels, then the phrase begins to work. It has awakened trust. It has softened resistance. It has carried you into a state where money is not chased, but allowed. Let us take, wealth is normal to me. If you say it and immediately feel a battle in the heart, do not condemn yourself. It only means the state is still unfamiliar. Do not force it with violence. Let the phrase become gentle. Wealth is normal to me. Not strange, not forbidden, not reserved for others, not extraordinary. Normal. Let that one word normal do its work. Let it remove the glitter that makes wealth seem distant. Let it make supply ordinary. Let it make abundance familiar. When wealth feels normal, the subconscious no longer treats it as foreign. The phrase must bring you into the state. If it does not, it is only a mask, and a mask cannot change the face beneath it. Many wear masks before the subconscious. They put a golden phrase over a frightened self. They put a prosperous sentence over a poor identity. They put a confident declaration over an inward confession of failure. Then they become discouraged, because the mask did not become the man. But the law asks for the man, not the mask. It asks, who are you being? It asks, what are you feeling to be true? It asks, what's... I do not want you to labor under phrases. I do not want you to become anxious about choosing the perfect sentence as though the exact wording were the secret. The living secret is feeling. The words are only useful if they awaken the feeling. Once the feeling is awakened, stay with the feeling. Let the phrase grow quiet. Let it dissolve into the mood. The subconscious will receive the mood. This is a very delicate point. At first, you may need the phrase. You repeat softly, I am supplied, I am supplied, I am supplied. And gradually the body releases, the breath deepens, The mind stops pressing against the future. You begin to feel, even faintly, that perhaps life is not against you. Perhaps supply is not far. Perhaps the burden is not yours alone. In that moment, do not keep repeating mechanically, as though repetition itself were the. If you were warming yourself by a fire, you would not continue striking matches after the flame had already taken. You would sit by the fire. So it is with the phrase. Once the feeling begins to burn, sit inwardly by the feeling. Let it warm you. Let it become more real. Let it become natural. Let sleep take you from there. This is why some have repeated words for years and remained unchanged. They never stopped to feel. They spoke over fear instead of transforming it. They shouted abundance at poverty instead of entering supply. They used affirmations like a man throwing stones at a shadow. But the shadow was not the cause. The state was the cause. And until the feeling changed, the outer world had nothing new to reflect. Do not use a phrase to fight fear. Use it to enter fulfillment. There is a difference. If fear arises and you say, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, with the intention of beating fear into silence, then fear remains the center. Your attention is still upon fear. Your body is still feeling fear. Your phrase has become a weapon in a battle you are still believing in. But if fear arises and you turn gently toward the state of supply, if you breathe and say, I am supply, you are no longer fighting fear, you are leaving it. The old state is not conquered by violence, it is abandoned by assumption. You do not destroy darkness with your fists, you bring light. You do not argue poverty into silence, you assume supply. You do not wrestle lack through the night. You carry the feeling of being provided for into sleep. The phrase helps only if it turns you toward the light. Now consider how a man says, it is done, with doubt, and the words are hollow. Another says, it is done, with deep relief, and the words are a seal. A man says, I am free, while inwardly feeling trapped, and the subconscious receives the trap. Another says, I am free, and feels the weight fall from his shoulders, and the subconscious receives freedom. A man says, thank you, hoping gratitude will force the same words, different states, different seeds. Therefore listen not only to what you say, but to how you are being as you say it. The tone of being is the true prayer. The mood is the true decree. The atmosphere within you is the language of the subconscious. If the atmosphere is lack, then even words of wealth may serve lack. If the atmosphere is supply, then even a few simple words may impress wealth deeply. Let that sentence correct everything. The subconscious receives the feeling wearing the words. The words may wear the garment of abundance, but if fear is inside them, fear is received. The words may speak of wealth, but if shame is inside them, shame is received. The words may declare provision, but if abandonment is inside them, abandonment is received. Therefore, do not decorate the old feeling, change the feeling. Ask yourself, what would I feel if this were already true? Not what should I feel, not what would impress another person, not what sounds spiritual. What would I feel if money were no longer a threat? What would I feel if I were already supplied? What would I feel if wealth belonged in my world? What would I feel if the way were already being made? The answer will often be simple: relief, safety, calm. Let safety be your abundance tonight. Let calm be your prosperity tonight. These are not substitutes for money. They are the inner state from which money may move. Money is not cause. It is one of the forms that state may take. If you enter relief, the world must begin to produce reasons for relief. If you enter safety, the world must begin to produce expressions of safety. If you enter supply, money finds a lawful place. You need living feeling. One living feeling before sleep is greater than 100 dead sentences spoken from anxiety. One true acceptance is greater than 1,000 attempts to convince yourself. One moment of natural wealth is greater than hours of forced repetition. The subconscious does not need volume, it needs reality. Now do not become discouraged if the feeling does not come fully at first. Many have lived long in the old state. The mind may be accustomed to asking how. The heart may be accustomed to disappointment. So when you first speak a phrase of supply, there may be only a small opening. That is enough. Do not despise the small opening. Enter it. A door may begin as a crack. A seed may begin as something tiny. A flame may begin as a spark. If it is alive, it can grow. If the phrase, I am rich, feels too, if that is still hard, Choose I am willing to feel safe. The phrase must be a door, not a wall. It must open feeling, not produce more struggle. Do not choose words because they sound grand. Choose the words that bring you closer to the felt state. The best phrase is the one that lets the body stop defending lack. A man may choose, everything is taken care of. He repeats it softly at the edge of sleep. Another may choose, money moves toward me, and feel the dignity of not chasing. Then that is his phrase. Another may choose, wealth is normal to me, and feel the strangeness of wealth begin to disappear. Then that is his phrase. Another may choose, I am supplied, and feel the presence of support. Then that is his phrase. The words differ. The law is the same. Do not compare your phrase with another. A phrase that awakens life in you is more powerful than a famous phrase that leaves you cold. A simple sentence that brings relief is better than an ornate prayer that keeps you begging. The Father is not impressed by speech. The Father is your own wonderful human imagination, and imagination receives the state you enter. Let me give you an image. A man comes to a well with an empty cup. The cup is necessary, but the cup is not the water. What if he polishes the cup all night and never fills it? He remains thirsty. Another comes with a plain cup, fills it, and drinks. The words are the cup. Feeling is the living water. Do not polish the phrase and forget to drink the state. Do not perfect the language and neglect the feeling. It is better to drink from a plain cup than to admire a golden one while thirst remains. Now, as you prepare for sleep, you are not trying to unlock life by sound alone. You are allowing a simple phrase to carry you into a felt identity. It is a boat crossing a river. Once you arrive on the other shore, you do not keep carrying the boat on your back. Once the phrase brings you into supply, rest in supply. Once it brings you into relief, rest in relief. Once it brings you into natural wealth, rest there. If sleep comes while the phrase is still, if the words fade and only the feeling remains, that is good. If the feeling fades into sleep, better still. The phrase has done its work when it has led you into the state. The state then enters the subconscious. Sleep carries it into the deep. The law begins to move. The conscious mind may ask, how do I know the feeling is real? You will know by a change in inner pressure. You may not see visions. You may feel a small quietness. You may feel that tomorrow is not so threatening. You may feel a slight gratitude, not because anything outward has yet occurred, but because inwardly the burden is no longer in the same place. This is reality beginning to shift. Do not demand drama. Accept the quiet sign. Feeling real does not always mean intense. It often means settled. It means the state has ceased to be an argument. It means the phrase has become less like a request and more like recognition. I am supplied. Yes, supplied. Money belongs in my world. Yes, it belongs. Wealth is normal to me. Yes, normal. The bridge is forming. Yes, forming. That inward yes is far more powerful than a loud outward declaration filled with doubt. In the old state, you may have said many things and felt the opposite. You will use words to transform your feeling. You will not cover fear with language. You will let language guide you into relief. You will not shout abundance over poverty. You will enter the state where poverty is no longer your name. This is why I have asked you throughout to return to identity. If the phrase says I am supplied, then become the supplied one, as you say it. If it says everything is taken care of, then let the body behave as if it says money moves toward me, then cease inwardly from chasing. If it says wealth is normal to me, then remove the inner gasp, the inner strangeness, the inner sense that wealth belongs only to others. Let it belong. Let it be natural. A phrase is like a key, but a key must turn. Feeling is the turning. A key placed in a lock, but never turned, does not open the door. A phrase spoken, the subconscious receives, the state enters, the seed is planted. And once the seed is planted, do not stand over it, repeating empty words in fear. Rest, let the feeling remain. Let sleep come. If the mind returns and asks, did I say enough? Answer, feeling is enough. If it asks, did I choose the perfect phrase? Answer, living feeling is the power. If it asks, answer, one living seed is enough. This is freedom. You are not bound to ritual. You are not bound to number. You are not bound to the perfect wording. You are bound only to state. And state can be entered now. State can be felt now. State can be carried into sleep now. Let the words be few. Let the feeling be alive. Let the body soften. Let the inner man receive. I am supplied. Not as a wish, as identity. Everything is taken care of. Not as hope, as relief. Let the phrase become feeling, and let the feeling become sleep. Let the cup be filled with living water. Let the seed contain life. Let the subconscious receive not the mask of words, but the truth of the state, wearing them. A phrase without feeling is a seed without life. The words are the cup. Feeling is the living water. And tonight, you need not gather many words. You need only one living feeling, accepted quietly, carried gently, and delivered into the deep. Now that you understand the phrase is not the power, but the feeling awakened by the phrase, you are ready to choose the words you will carry into sleep. And I want you to choose them simply. Do not make this difficult. Do not let the anxious mind turn a holy simplicity into a problem. The mind that has lived long in fear will try to complicate even the door of freedom. It will ask, which phrase is perfect? Which phrase is strongest? Which phrase will bring money fastest? Which phrase has the most power? But these questions often come from the same old state of strain. They are still trying to get, they are still trying to force, they are still standing outside the fulfilled state. So let us begin differently. You are not looking, you are looking for a phrase that carries you into rest. Do not choose the phrase that sounds impressive. Choose the one that feels true when the body softens. Choose the one that lets the breath become easy. Choose the one that removes the need to struggle. Choose the one that makes wealth feel a little more natural, a little more near, a little more inwardly accepted. The best decree is the one that carries you into rest. A decree before sleep should be short. It should not be a long explanation. It should not be a speech made to persuade the subconscious. It should not be a sentence so full of conditions that the mind must labor to remember it. When the body is nearing sleep, simplicity is strength. A short phrase can be held gently. It can be repeated softly. It can descend without effort. It can become rhythm. It can become feeling. It can pass beneath thought into the deeper mind. If it must manage the wording, it must remember the order, it must make sure nothing has been missed. And while it is busy managing words, it may never enter feeling. But a short phrase can bypass argument. I am supplied. It is already provided. Money moves toward me. Wealth is normal to me. I am richly provided for. The money is already moving. Everything is taken care of. These are simple. The phrase should be in the present, not I will be supplied, not money will someday come, not one day wealth will be normal. The subconscious does not create from someday. Someday is a wilderness. It keeps the desire always a little ahead of you. It makes you a traveler who never arrives. You must speak from the end, not toward the end. The phrase must contain the feeling of now. I am supplied. These do not beg the future. They assume the present state. The phrase should be final. It should not be filled with maybe, if, perhaps, or I hope. Hope, as men often use it, is only a polite form of delay. Hope says, I do not have it, but I wish I did. Assumption says, I have entered the state. The decree before sleep must carry the mood of completion, not excitement, not noise. This finality is not arrogance, it is rest. It is the Sabbath of the mind. It is the feeling that the matter has been accepted in consciousness. The phrase should be easy to feel. This is very important. Do not choose words that throw you into conflict. Do not choose a phrase merely because it sounds large or grand. If the phrase awakens more fear than relief, soften it. Bring it nearer to the feeling of acceptance. You are not trying to win an argument. You are trying to enter a state. If the phrase I am wealthy feels too distant tonight, then do not force it. Say, I am supplied. If I am supplied feels difficult, say, I am being provided for. If that still feels far, say, everything is being arranged. The words must bring you toward the end, not throw you into battle. You may begin with the degree of a small feeling accepted is greater than a large phrase resisted. The phrase should be connected to relief or supply. Money, in its fulfilled state, often feels first like relief, not wild excitement, not restless thrill, relief. The old pressure has lifted. The future no longer threatens. The body no longer braces. The mind no longer races. You feel held, provided for, included in the order of. It should make the inner atmosphere easier. It should carry the feeling of supply. I am supplied. Feel the relief of that. It is already provided. Feel the burden leave the body. Money moves toward me. Feel the end of chasing. Wealth is normal to me. Feel the strangeness of wealth dissolve. I am richly provided for. Feel life becoming friendly. The money is already moving. Feel the unseen. Each phrase is a door. You are not to stand before the door admiring its shape. You are to enter. If I am supplied, opens the feeling. Enter. If everything is taken care of, opens the feeling more deeply. Enter there. If money moves toward me, makes you feel less desperate and more receptive, use it. If wealth is normal to me, removes resistance and makes abundance seem ordinary, choose that. Do not choose from vanity, choose from rest. Do not choose what sounds powerful to another, choose what becomes powerful in you. A phrase that sounds humble may be mighty if it carries you into fulfillment. A phrase that sounds grand may be empty if it leaves you outside the state. The best decree is the one that carries you into rest. Short words, deep feeling, final acceptance. That is the way. Deep feeling, because the subconscious receives feeling. Final acceptance, because the state must be one of possession, not pursuit. Short words, deep feeling, final acceptance. Now, let us take these possible phrases one by one, slowly, so you may sense which one belongs to you tonight. I am supplied. This is a beautiful decree, because it does not strain after a specific channel. It does not demand that one person, one opportunity, one road, or one condition become the source. It simply names the state. I am supplied. It means supply belongs to my being. It means I am not abandoned. It means life has ways. It means I do not stand outside provision. If those words soften something in you, they may be your phrase. Say it inwardly, not as a shout. Let the mind stop searching for the channel. If you feel even a little relief, stay there. The phrase is working because it is carrying you into the state. It is already provided. This phrase carries finality. It does not ask. It does not plead. It does not say, please provide. It says, it is already provided. It may be powerful for one who has been looking anxiously at the future. It reminds the mind that it tells the subconscious that provision is not outside the law. It is included. It is already provided. Perhaps you do not know the visible road. That does not matter. The decree speaks from the end. It is already provided. Let this phrase feel like a sealed letter. Let it feel like the matter has been placed in the hands of a power deeper than your anxious calculation. It is already provided. Not someday. Already. Not by my strain. Provided. Not by one visible channel only. Provided by the law. Through whatever bridge belongs to the state, money moves toward me. This phrase is useful when the old habit of chasing has been strong. If you have felt that you must pursue, force, grip, control, or run after money, then money moves toward me may reverse the inner motion. It places you not in pursuit, but in reception. Money moves toward me. It does not make money a god. It simply removes the feeling that money is fleeing from you. It lets you become still. It lets the world move according to the state. But say it carefully. Do not say it as one straining to pull money from a distance. Say it as one who has become a rightful center of supply. Money moves toward me because I am supplied. Money moves toward me because wealth belongs in my world. Money moves toward me because my state has changed. If the phrase brings dignity and calm, use it. Wealth is normal to me. This is a deep phrase. It may not sound as urgent as others, but it is very powerful because the subconscious accepts what feels normal. If wealth has seemed strange, far, reserved for others, or too wonderful to be yours, then this phrase gently removes the sense of distance. Wealth is normal to me, not shocking, not forbidden, not impossible, normal, familiar, natural, belonging. Let this phrase become ordinary inside you. Wealth is normal to me. The body does not need to tremble. The mind does not need to gasp. Wealth is normal to me. Supply is normal. Provision is normal. If this phrase brings a quiet, of course, then it is strong. The word normal may open the door more deeply than the word rich, because normal removes resistance. I am richly provided for. This phrase is warm. It carries the feeling of being cared for, supported, included in abundance. It does not merely say that money exists. It says you are provided for richly, not barely, not with struggle, not as a last-minute rescue, richly. This may awaken gratitude. It may awaken the feeling that life is not withholding. I am richly provided for. Let it feel generous, Let it feel kind. Let it feel safe. Do not force a picture. Let the phrase create an atmosphere. I am richly provided for. There is enough. There is a way. The bridge is forming. The supply is greater than my fear. If the phrase brings comfort, let it be yours. The money is already moving. This phrase is useful when the outer world appears still. The mind may say, "Where is it?" But the phrase says, "The money is already moving." It does not require that the eyes see the movement yet. It assumes movement in the unseen. It honors the bridge of incidents before the bridge is visible. The money is already moving. Let this phrase relieve you of checking. If it is already moving, you need not dig up the seed. If it is already moving, you need not ask every moment whether the law has begun. If it is already moving, you can sleep. And sleep is exactly where the command is carried into the deep. Say it softly. The money is already moving. Let that become rest, not impatience. Let it become trust, not demand. Everything is taken care of. This phrase may be the most restful for some. It does not even use the word money, and yet it can carry the feeling of money fulfilled. Everything is taken care of. The obligation is taken care of. The way is taken care of. The unseen arrangement is taken care of. The burden is taken care of. This phrase often touches the body quickly because it answers the deeper desire behind money, relief. If you can say, "Everything is taken care of," and feel the body surrender, then you have found a living decree. It is not vague if it produces the fulfilled state. It is not weak if it brings peace. Everything is taken care of. Let the mind stop managing. Let the heart stop bracing. Let sleep come. Now you may wonder, which one should I choose? And I say again, do not choose the phrase that sounds impressive. Choose the one that feels true when the body softens. Choose the one that produces relief. Choose the one that makes the old fear loosen. Choose the one you can carry into sleep without strain. You may choose one for tonight and another night, but do not change out of anxiety. Change only if another phrase carries you more naturally into the state. There is power in remaining with one phrase for a time. Repetition, when gentle and felt, makes the state familiar. If tonight you choose "I am supplied," let it become your lullaby of identity. Return to it until it no longer feels like a statement you are trying to believe, but a fact you are remembering. I am supplied. I am supplied. I am supplied. Not mechanically, not tensely, softly, as though you are sinking into the state with each repetition. If you choose "everything is taken care of," let it become the everything is taken care of. The body rests. Everything is taken care of. The mind releases. Everything is taken care of. Sleep opens. Everything is taken care of. The subconscious receives. Everything is taken care of. And then the words may fade, leaving only the feeling. Do not repeat as a machine. Repeat as one being carried. The words should become slower as sleep approaches. They should become softer. They should become less like speech and more like atmosphere. At first, you may say them clearly inwardly. Then perhaps only a part remains. Supplied, provided, taken care of, normal, moving. Then even the word may dissolve, and the feeling remains. This is good. The feeling is the power. The phrase must not be future-based. Notice the difference. Money will come one day. Keeps money ahead of you. I will be provided for keeps provision ahead of you. I hope wealth arrives keeps wealth ahead of you. The subconscious receives the state of one who is waiting. Instead, bring it into present identity. I am supplied. It is already provided. Money moves toward me. Wealth is normal to me. The money is already moving. Everything is taken care of. The phrase must not be desperate. Do not use it like a rope thrown from a sinking ship. Use it like a door opened in your own house. Desperation says, "If this does not work, I am lost." Assumption says, "I enter the state." Desperation watches the phrase. Assumption becomes the phrase. Desperation demands proof. Assumption rests in the unseen. If you feel desperation rising, soften the phrase. Make it closer to relief. Everything is taken care of may be easier than "I am rich." I am supplied may be easier than "I have a fortune." Choose rest over grandeur. The phrase must not be too complicated. The subconscious does not require your entire financial story. It does not need the list of bills, the exact amounts, the names of people, the timing of events, the path of money, and the details of every outcome. If you crowd the phrase with detail, you may keep the conscious mind awake. The deeper mind is impressed by the state. Everything is taken care of contains more power, if felt, than a long petition filled with anxious conditions. I am supplied contains the essence. Wealth is normal to me contains the identity. The bridge will take care of particulars. Let the phrase be like a small lamp in a dark room. It need not illuminate the whole future. It need only give you enough light to enter the state. Once you enter, sleep will carry it down. Now here is a gentle way to choose tonight. Do not decide only with the intellect. Let the body answer. Hear each phrase inwardly, slowly, and notice which one softens you most. I am supplied. Pause. It is already provided. Pause. Wealth is normal to me. Pause. I am richly provided for. Pause. The money is already moving. Pause. Everything is taken care of. Pause. One of these may feel warmer. One may feel easier. One may feel like a breath you have been waiting to take. That is the one for tonight. The body often knows which phrase opens the state. The heart knows where relief begins. Do not argue with it. Choose the phrase that carries you into rest. And once chosen, keep it simple. Do not lie down and rehearse them all anxiously, as though more phrases mean more power. More words may only scatter the mind. One phrase, felt deeply, is enough. One phrase, repeated gently, is enough. One phrase, carried into sleep, is enough. One living seed is enough to begin a harvest. Short words, deep feeling, final acceptance, that is the way. Short words, deep feeling, final acceptance, that is the way. Short words, deep feeling, the feeling is deep because the subconscious receives feeling. The acceptance is final because you are not begging for an uncertain future. You are entering the end. This is the decree before sleep. If you choose, I am supplied, do not add, but I do not know how. If you choose, it is already provided, do not add, unless nothing happens. If you choose, money moves toward me, do not add, but I must see proof by morning. If you choose, wealth is normal to me, do not add, though it has never been normal before. These additions are the old state trying to attach itself to the new phrase. Leave them out. Let the decree stand clean. Let it be final. I am supplied. It is already provided. Money moves toward me. Wealth is normal to me. I am richly provided for. The money is already moving. Everything is taken care of. You may choose one, and as you drift towards sleep, do not hurry it. Do not force it. Let it fall inwardly. I am supplied. A pause. I am supplied. Another pause. I am supplied. Let the pause become as important as the phrase. In the pause, feeling grows. In the pause, the body listens. In the pause, the subconscious opens. If you choose, everything is taken care of. Let it be like a hand gently removing burdens from your chest. Everything is taken care of. You do not need to solve it now. You do not need to know the channel. Everything is taken care of. You may sleep. Everything is taken care of. The deep receives. Everything is taken care of. If you choose, wealth is normal to me, let the word normal become the key. Wealth is normal to me. Not far, not strange, not dramatic. Normal. Wealth is normal to me. Let the old feeling of distance fade. Wealth is normal to me. Let the subconscious hear that wealth belongs. Wealth is normal. If you choose, the money is already moving. Let it free you from checking. The money is already moving. I do not need to see the whole bridge. The money is already moving. I do not need to force the road. The money is already moving. The law works beneath the surface. The money is already moving. I can rest. The decree must produce rest. If it produces tension, adjust it. The best decree is the one that carries you into rest, not the one that sounds most dramatic, not the one that would impress another, not the one that feels like a demand placed upon the universe, the one that carries you into rest. Rest is important because rest is the sign of acceptance. When a matter is accepted as done in consciousness, the mind begins to rest from trying to make it happen. When you still feel that you must force it, the state has not yet become final. So choose the phrase that brings the Sabbath feeling, the feeling that the work is done within. The outer may still be forming, but the inner decree is settled. This is why, before sleep, the phrase should not be desperate. A desperate phrase keeps the body awake. It says we must make something happen now. But a true decree says it is already accepted. It allows the body to fall asleep. It allows the mind to release. It allows the subconscious to receive. Remember, sleep is not the enemy of manifestation. Sleep is the gate through which the accepted state enters the deep. Therefore, any phrase that keeps you tense is not yet the right phrase for the night. Any phrase that makes you argue is too far or too complicated. Any phrase that awakens rest, relief, safety, or naturalness is closer to the law. Perhaps tonight, after hearing all these, you choose only two words: I receive. If those words awaken relief, they are enough. Perhaps you choose already provided. If those words feel final, they are enough. If those words bring identity, they are enough. The form may vary, but the principle remains. The phrase must be short, present, final, easy to feel, connected to relief or supply, not complicated, not future-based, not desperate. And now, as the night deepens, let yourself become empowered by this simplicity. You are not helpless before 1,000 techniques. You are not required to master every method. You can choose one simple phrase and carry it into one state, one seed. That is enough for the law. Choose gently, choose inwardly. Choose the phrase that feels like relief. Choose the phrase that feels like supply. Choose the phrase that feels like the end. Then carry it softly. Do not grip it. Do not force it. Do not examine it until it dies in your hands. Carry it as one carries a candle through a quiet room. I am supplied. It is already provided. Money moves toward me. Wealth is normal. The money is already moving. Everything is taken care of. One of these is enough. One living phrase. One living feeling. One accepted state. Let it become yours. Let it become soft. Let it become final. Let it become the last impression of the night. Short words, deep feeling, final acceptance. The best decree is the one that carries you into rest. And tonight, you can choose it, carry it, feel it, and sleep. And now, my friend, there is nothing more to hold together with the little strength of the waking mind. The night has received you. The body is resting. The outer world is becoming distant. The senses are softening. The mind is loosening its grip upon appearances. And the deeper self, the faithful subconscious, is open. Let these words now become slower within you. Do not try to follow them with effort. Do not try to understand them with the sharpness of the day. Let them pass beneath thought. Let them become the sound of the state. Let them become the atmosphere of sleep. Let them become the quiet movement of wealth entering the deep. I am supplied. Let that be enough. I am supplied. Not someday. Not when the world proves it. Not when the senses agree. I am supplied now. I am supplied in consciousness. I am supplied in the only place where creation begins. I am supplied. The code is working within me. It is not outside me. It is working within my own being. It is working in my I am. It is working in my feeling. It is working in my assumption. It is working in my naturalness. It is working as I rest. The code is working within me. Quietly, faithfully, deeply. The code is working within me. My subconscious receives wealth as normal. Not strange, not distant, not impossible. Normal. Wealth is normal to me. Supply is normal to me. Money moves. Being supported is normal to me. Being richly provided for is normal to me. My subconscious receives wealth as normal. My subconscious receives supply as natural. My subconscious receives abundance as belonging. My subconscious receives the state of wealth. And I rest. I do not force it. I do not chase it. I do not argue with the night. I do not wrestle with the unseen. I do not demand the bridge before the seed is planted. I let the seed enter. I let the state descend. I am supplied. The code is working within me. My subconscious receives wealth as normal. Money moves toward my state. Money does not run from me. Money is not my master. Money is not my fear. Money is not my judge. Money is an effect. Money is a form. Money moves toward the state I occupy. And the state I occupy now is supply. The state I occupy now is ease. The state I occupy now is relief. The state Money moves toward my state. I do not chase. I receive. I do not beg. I receive. I do not strain. I receive. I do not follow money as though it were greater than I am. I remain in I am. And money moves toward the state I have accepted. I do not chase. I receive. I do not chase wealth through fear. I receive wealth through identity. I do not chase supply through anxiety. I receive supply through assumption. I receive. Let the body hear that. I do not chase, I receive. Let the heart hear that. I do not chase, I receive. Let the subconscious receive that. I do not chase, I receive. Wealth is written in my I am, not poverty, not fear, not waiting, not struggle. Wealth, supply, safety, provision, relief. Wealth is written in my I am. I am supplied. I am safe. And what is written in I am must seek expression. What is accepted in I am must become visible. What is felt in I am must take form. Wealth is written in my I am. The bridge is forming in silence. I do not need to see it tonight. I do not need to design it tonight. I do not need to supervise it tonight. The bridge is forming in silence. A thought may come, a door may open, a meeting may be arranged, a word may be spoken, a way may be made. The bridge is forming in silence, and I do not disturb it with fear. I do not dig up the seed. I do not ask the dark soil to show me the roots. I let the seed work. I let the state work. I let the law work. The bridge is forming in silence. The law works while I rest, not while I worry, not while I strain, not while I tremble, while I rest. The law works while I rest. The law works when the body is still. The law works when I stop arguing. The law works when I accept the end. The law works while I rest. I may sleep now. I may let go now. I may surrender the how now. I may release the burden now. The law works while I rest. The law does not need my fear. The law does not need my tension. The law does not need my constant watching. The law needs only the accepted state, and the state is accepted. I am supplied. The code is working. Money moves toward my state. I do not chase. I receive. Wealth is written in my I am. The bridge is forming in silence. The law works while I rest. Money knows where to find me. Not because I run after it, not because I beg for it, not because I fear its absence. Money knows where to find me, because I have become the state to which it belongs. Money knows where to find me. It finds the supplied one. It finds the peaceful one. It finds the one who no longer. It finds the one who sleeps in the end. It finds the one who accepts wealth as normal. Money knows where to find me. I am not lost to supply. I am not hidden from abundance. I am not outside the law. I am within the law. I am supported by the law. I am named by wealth. I am known by supply. Money knows where to find me. And now I sleep in the state of wealth. Not merely thinking of wealth. Not merely wishing for wealth. Not merely repeating words about wealth. I sleep as one supplied. I sleep as one provided for. I sleep as one whose burden is lifted. I sleep as one whose way is being made. I sleep as one whose subconscious has received the command. I sleep in the state of wealth, softly, naturally, completely. I sleep in the state of wealth. The old state is leaving. The old fear is dissolving. The old name is fading. The old pressure is loosening. The old story has no place in this. And I wake as the one wealth found. I wake not as the beggar. I wake not as the anxious one. I wake not as the one abandoned by life. I wake as the one wealth found. I wake as the one supplied. I wake as the one supported. I wake as the one who carried the right state into the deep. I wake as the one whose world begins to move. I wake as the one wealth found, quietly, naturally, lawfully. I wake as the one wealth found. Everything is taken care of. Let that become breath. Everything is taken care of. Let that become rest. Everything is taken care of. The way is taken care of. The bridge is taken care of. The means are taken care of. The timing is taken care of. The unseen movement is taken care of. Everything is taken care of. I do not need to know every road. I do not need to hold every answer. I do not need to remain awake in fear. Everything is taken care of. The subconscious receives. The law arranges. The state expresses. Everything is taken care of. I am supplied. I am supplied. I am supplied. The code is working within me. The code is working within me. The code is working within me. My subconscious receives wealth as normal. 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 Money moves toward my state. Money moves toward my state. I do not chase, I receive. Wealth is written in my I am. Wealth is written in my I am. Wealth is written in my I am. The bridge is forming in silence. The bridge is forming in silence. The bridge is forming in silence. The law works while I rest. The law works while I rest. The law works while I rest. Money knows where to find me. Money knows where to find me. Money knows where to find me. I sleep in the state of wealth. I sleep in the state of wealth. I sleep in the state of. I wake as the one wealth found. I wake as the one wealth found. Everything is taken care of. Everything is taken care of. And now, let the words become softer. There is no need to hold them tightly. There is no need to remember them perfectly. There is no need to repeat them with effort. Let them become feeling. Let the feeling become sleep. Let sleep carry the feeling into the deep. I am supplied. The code is working within me. My subconscious receives wealth as normal. Money moves toward my state. I do not chase. I receive. Wealth is written in my I am. The bridge is forming in silence. The law works while I rest. Money knows where to find me. I sleep in the state of wealth. I wake as the one wealth found. Everything is taken care of. Let the body grow heavier now. Let the face soften. Let the jaw release. Let the shoulders fall. Let the hands rest. Let the breath become. There is nothing to chase here. There is nothing to fix here. There is nothing to force here. Only the state, only the feeling, only the quiet acceptance. I am supplied. Let it descend. I am supplied. Let it settle. I am supplied. Let it be. Money moves toward my state. Let it descend. Money moves toward my state. Let it settle. Money moves toward my state. Let it be. Wealth is normal to me. Let it descend. Everything is taken care of. Let it descend. Everything is taken care of. Let it settle. Everything is taken care of. Let it be. The old world may still appear for a moment, but it is only an echo. The new state is now planted. The new identity is now chosen. The new feeling is now descending. The subconscious receives. The subconscious receives. The subconscious receives. It receives wealth as normal. It receives supply as natural. It receives the final state of the night. I am supplied. I am supplied. I am supplied. I am supplied. Let the darkness be kind. Let the silence be fertile. Let sleep be the gate. Let the state enter. Let the deep receive. The code is not outside me. The code is working within me. The code is not far away. The code is working within me. The code is not a thing I chase. The code is working within me. In my I am. Faithfully. Softly. While I rest. I am supplied. The code is working within me. My subconscious receives wealth as normal. Money moves toward my state. I do not chase. I receive. Wealth is written in my I am. The bridge is forming in silence. The law works while I rest. Money knows where to find me. I sleep in the state of wealth. I wake as the one wealth found. Everything is taken care of. Now the words may become few. Supplied, provided, safe, supported, wealth, relief, rest, received. The body rests, the mind rests, the heart rests, the old state rests, the new state descends, the subconscious receives, the bridge forms, the law works. I am supplied, I am safe, I am supported, I am provided for, I am richly provided for, I am the one wealth finds, I am living in abundance now, I am supported by the law. Only I am supplied. The code is working within me, the code is working within me, the code is working within me. Let sleep come now if it wishes. Let the mind drift, let the words fade, let the feeling remain. Let the feeling become the final impression. Let supply be the final impression. Let wealth be the final impression. Let relief be the final impression. Let everything is taken care of be the final impression. Everything is taken care of. Everything is taken care of. I sleep in the state of wealth. I sleep in the state of wealth. I sleep in the state of wealth. Money knows where to find me. Money knows where to find me. Money knows where to find me. The law works while I rest. The law works while I rest. The law works while I rest. The bridge is forming in silence. The bridge is forming in silence. The bridge is forming in silence. I do not chase. I receive. I do not chase. Softer now. Quieter now. There is only the state. There is only the deep. There is only the faithful law. There is only the quiet I am. I am supplied. I am supplied. I am supplied. Sleep may take the words. Sleep may take the thoughts. Sleep may take the room. But the state remains. The state goes down. The state is received. The state is planted. The state is working. I am supplied. The code is working within me. I do not chase. I receive. Wealth is written in my I am. The bridge is forming in silence. The law works while I rest. Money knows where to find me. I sleep in the state of wealth. I wake as the one wealth found. Everything is taken care of. Everything is taken care of. Everything is taken care of. And gently, without effort, without fear, without another question to answer, I rest. I rest in supply. I rest. I am supplied. I am supplied. The code is working within me. The code is working within me. The code is working within me. And now, quietly, deeply, faithfully, I receive.